Tonight on the Black Channel, there's going to be a lot of data here tonight, so you have been forewarned. You know, these politicians think they're slick, particularly those who do not come from the lineage. And we're going to be going over a few of them tonight because while the program's title mentions Maryland Governor Wes Moore specifically, he is not the only one that we'll be discussing here tonight. All right, let's go ahead and jump into it here. We're going to be taking a look at the story from Fox 45 in Baltimore. And what we're going to do is we're going to jump forward a little bit here because they're talking about a number of different laws that happened. They were on the books, well, that they were going over and reviewing. But there's only one in particular that we're all interested in.
Creation of a commission to study.
Our problem here, we don't need to spend $1.2 million of taxpayer money to prove that.
But arguably the most controversial veto override, the creation of a commission to study reparations in Maryland. While vetoing the plan, which was a priority for the Legislative Black Caucus, the governor said he did not want another study. Rather, he wanted action. The Democrats fiercely pushed back on the floor.
It's easy to get beyond things when you're not one of the people who's been despaired. It's easy.
Yes, we know the institution of slavery was evil. This is about what we do as a way to repair the harm, the damage.
Acknowledging the sensitivity surrounding the plan.
Nobody's trying to suggest that what reparations was originally designed to discuss is not an issue. That's not what we're suggesting. But what we're suggesting is this. Do you need a commission to study something that's already been studied?
House Minority Leader Jason Buckles said his issues with the bill centered around the vast vagueness of the language.
We opposed the bill because of the open-ended nature of more. How much will it cost? We don't know. What will be the criterion for the possible reparation relief? We don't know.
After a lengthy debate, the General Assembly officially voted to override the governor's veto of the reparations study bill. Moore says he disagrees, but respects the authority of the lawmakers, adding, "I still believe we must prioritize the policies that protect our people. I hope to find ways to partner with the General Assembly to drive results that make life better for Marylanders right now, with urgency and without delay."
Okay, now let me go ahead and address what you just heard here. Because believe it or not, I may actually go in a direction that you all might not necessarily suspect here. First thing I want to say is, man, do you hear the difference in the tone?
His veto.
So yes, data centers are a problem here.
Do you hear the difference in the tone?
That what reparations was originally designed to discuss is not an issue. That's not what we're suggesting. But what we're suggesting is this. Do you need a commission to study something that's already been studied?
House Minority.
I mean, even from the Republicans, do you all hear? I mean, it's not that really snarky, combative tone that you hear in so many other places. So that's the first thing that caught my ear is that, by the way, for the folks who say that you're not making progress, it doesn't matter, this, that, and the other, they don't sound nearly as combative and snarky and hostile as you see in other places. So that's one of the first things that jumped out and got my attention. Right there, first and foremost. Now, what he says, and you're noticing this because he sounds like Governor Moore, even though he's a Republican, sounds like Governor Moore when they're talking about Governor Moore doesn't want a study, he wants action. Well, now, doesn't that sound very aggressive? I don't want to study. I want action. Well, doesn't that sound like us? Brothers and sisters, I mean, when Governor Moore says he doesn't want another study, he wants action. Well, doesn't that sound like us? Doesn't that sound like B1 society? I mean, if we were writing the response, wouldn't we have said the same thing? And that's the trick bag right there. You see, the story from the news station there doesn't go into it. Well, that's quite all right, because we're going to hear. A few months ago at the Essence Fest, Governor Moore got tracked down by somebody, and he got asked about his veto of the reparations study. He got asked about that, and that's where these folks are coming up with this phrase about he doesn't want a study, he wants action. Well, why don't we listen to what he said in its proper context, and then you tell me if you still think he means the same thing that we do when he says, I don't want a study, I want action.
In the state of Maryland of truly creating pathways for work, wages, and wealth. And you cannot have one or two if you're not also making sure you're incorporating the third, which is wealth. And so for me, that is freedom. Freedom is wealth.
Man. I mean, folks, this is, I will say one thing, isn't this radically different from the Barack boot-licking, butt-kissing Obama days? I mean, nobody's talking about desegregation and all that garbage Obama was trying to feed from the tail end of the baby boomers. Now, isn't this amazing? Now everybody's talking about economics and, more importantly, wealth. People, the damn memo has been received. They know exactly what we're talking about. They're trying to avoid the end result. So I'm just saying, from reparations to economics, Wes Moore sounds like he's right in lockstep with all of us, doesn't he? When he gets asked about the questions, why, he's giving the responses and speaking on the issues like Barack Obama did, by the way, when he was running for president in 2007. Governor Moore is hitting on the notes and using the phrases and whatnot. Jason, how could you disagree with any of this? Because the devil is in the details. Now here come the details.
And what you just said, right, kind of sounds like to me how, the reparations bill, of course, people felt a little way about it, but what you said made sense, right? At this point in time, it's about, we can't do no more, surveys, you gotta be action.
That's
right?
it. I mean, the big focus for me is that we have a whole litany of scholarship on this issue. We've got reports, we've got analysis, we've got more data on this issue now than ever historically before. What we need right now is action. And I think about the work that we've done just in the past 2 years of our administration. We've invested over $1.3 billion in our HBCUs in the state of Maryland, which is a 60% increase.
Nigga, what?
Yeah, you heard him say, yeah, we did all these studies. I'm not interested in that. I want action. What he was hoping is that you would not be listening for what his definition of, quote, action is. So you see, when you just throw that phrase out there, Governor Moore says he doesn't want another study. He wants action. Well, what he's hoping is that you won't ask, yeah, well, what kind of action you got in mind, Wes Moore? When you say action, what you got in mind? And what he's telling you all is that, oh, he's already seen the reparations. Why, here's a scholarship. Money to the HBCUs. People, do you know how long we've been giving money to the HBCUs now in just the last 40 years? I have one question to ask. What do we have to show for it? What do we have to show for the last 4 decades of it, by the way? Simple question.
Last 2 years of our administration right now is than ever historically before. What we need right now is action. And I think about the work that we've done just in the past 2 years of our administration. We've invested over $1.3 billion in our HBCUs in the state of Maryland, which is a 60% increase than what we saw before. That we have now created thousands of new black homeowners, that we have done procurement reform and invested over $800 million in black-owned businesses through state contracts in the state of Maryland, that I just signed legislation that's focusing on allocating $400 million going towards communities that have been the victims of historic redlining and mass incarceration and urban development, which basically wrecked the history of black communities, and saying those are communities that are the front of the line for $400 million. I am proud of the work that we've done, and everyone knows no state in the country is moving like Maryland right now. And the truth is, what we need is action.
What we need is action. So you see his reason for vetoing, and really what they really want to do is basically go through the steps of outlining what it is. Believe it or not, I'm not totally against that, because at this point right here, you don't want them to just start voting before you've gone through the process of even making sure that you know what they're voting for. If he says he wants action, these people are supposed to define already, by the way, when we say reparations, what do we mean and who do we mean it for? Now, that doesn't require a, quote, study. That just requires a resolution by the legislature. But here's the issue. Governor Wes Moore is not leading the charge or the discussion to make those firm definitions and boundaries. So he's not, you can't say that he's got offering something better than the study, because he's not even defining who it's for. But then again, from what you just heard, he ain't interested in reparations. It's the same damn trick bag. They use the word reparations and then they break off and detour into something else and tell you this is the conversation about reparations. Now, I want to be very, very clear to all of you. When I say reparations, I've always meant reparations across the board. I do not have an issue with the, quote, government contracts thing. I don't give a damn what you call it. I don't care what you call it. I'm concerned about what it does. So you can call it government contracts or whatever. What I am saying is 800 million, and it's a drop in the bucket. That is a drop in the bucket. So you're not going to be able to flick some crumbs off the table. No, we need whole loaves over here, not crumbs. Not crumbs. So even if I were going to accept that as a contribution, which I could if it were a serious one, but I can't, because that's not what it is. We're not here to talk about a few government contracts. And by the way, I would like to see the black folks saying they got theirs. I would like to see the black people saying that they got theirs of $400 million or whatever. I'd like to see the ones who got theirs. The other thing is, by the way, it's not reparations if we got to fight with everybody else over it. Because black folk and government contracts, okay, if you gave the black folk 400 million, how much did you give the white people? How much did the white folk get from the government contracts, by the way? How much did they get? And we're supposed to hold a parade for you? We're supposed to hold a parade? No. Let me be clear about something here. I have an issue with the word veto going in front of anything about reparations. I want you all to be clear about that. I got an issue with anything about that. I need you all to understand this is 4D chess. Shouldn't have to be saying this in public, but in order to communicate this to the masses. You want the conversations to continue. You want the conversations to fill the vacuum. People have short attention spans. They only tune in from time to time. You have to saturate and flood the zone. You got to saturate and flood the zone. So it is important and critical that these continue to be things that we talk about. So when it comes to the concept and the topic of reparations, you want to make sure that's an ongoing thing. My issue is not about, quote unquote, the study. My issue is when you're putting up a study as a stalling tactic or as a red herring in order to avoid doing it. The problem in California was not the study of reparations. That wasn't the issue. In California, it was used. California, the work that was done in California is a textbook example of doing it right. Yes, there was a study, but the purpose of the study was for defining strictly what reparations was and specifically who it applied to and who it doesn't. That is the study being done correctly. Now, if you're going to have a study, that's a study that was that right there, that was done correctly. It was there to say who isn't involved, who won't be getting it, who it applies to, how you make it happen. Now, that was correct. That bullcrap in Congress with H.R. 40, that's garbage. That's trash. You're going to bring in Dammy Coleman Cruz? That's trash. They were not discussing who it applies to. We want to bring in our designated Negro ass kissers and from NCOBRA and all the other useless trash organizations that aren't even organizations. It's just one dude in the garage. And we want them to define what it is. We want them to tell us what reparations is and what it isn't and who it applies to. Now, that's not what they did in California. The whole, quote, study portion of it made sure it sussed all that out. That is not what they're talking about with H.R. 40 in the U.S. Congress. That is not what it is. So if we're going through the step of, quote unquote, a study that makes sure that it clearly defines what the legislation will be for, which is what California did. The study, that their study group was there to define what it will be, not to define if it will be. That's not what the U.S. Congress is doing. The U.S. Congress wants to have a sip and tea session to decide if there will be reparations, not what it is and how it'll be done. Now, that's a useless study that is meant to sit up here and be a stalling tactic and to mislead people and to misdirect and deceive them. Now, that I do not support and never will. But if you want to study how we going to outline the legislation, oh, I'll do that all day. I have no problem with us studying how we're going to craft the legislation. Okay, I'll sign up for that. I'll sign up for that. So that's the kind of thing that I'm looking for. You got to understand here, there are some folks who are upset. There are a number of people who, like in the chat room, they're not eligible for it. And they see that the conversation is changing. People's tones are changing. And a lot of the folk that don't qualify for it, they're giving basically the down talk that got them stuck where they are. Just because you can't pull it off doesn't mean we can't. We've been doing it forever. You'd actually have something if you would get like us, you know. Just saying. These folks who they have exercises in abject failure. So of course you want to sit amongst us because things are getting done. That's why you're following us and we're not following you. And we never would. Why would we? Why would we? We have a culture of resistance. The very fact that we're talking against the system, you're not used to that. You would never have the courage. You don't have it now. So we have nothing to learn from you except how to flee and how to hide and how to cower and how to be an embarrassment. You have nothing to teach us. That's why you're over here in our camp, and we would never even think to go to yours. First of all, you got to get a camp. So just sit back, be salty, do what you're good at. But I want everyone to be clear here. The issue is not so much, quote unquote, a study. The issue is, what is it that you want us to study? Do you want us to study how we're going to craft the legislation? Or do you want us to study if there should be legislation. Now, if you want us to study if there should be reparations, I'm out. But if you want us to study how we're going to execute it, yeah, we want that. And folks, you want that too, because we need to be clear on that. We need to be clear because remember, if there's going to be a trick bag, they're going to try to sneak it in at the beginning. You cannot assume that the politicians are going to act in our best interest. If folks are going to try to sneak in the trick bag, they're going to try to do it at the beginning. So you don't want to just start it off and let it run. You want to make sure that we're monitoring it from the beginning and that you get it in writing before we ever get to the legislation point. You don't want us to get to legislation and then folks are still like, well, we're still trying to figure out what it's going to be. No, by the time we get there, we want it to be very clearly defined so that if anybody tries to change anything, remember California, by the time you get to the legislation part, it's very clearly defined. So now we're looking to see if anybody changes anything, as opposed to you get to legislation and like, oh, well, we're still working it out. No, we had that worked out before we got here. All you got to do now is just copy and paste what we talked about before. That's how you caught them trying to do trick bags earlier. They tried the bait and switch earlier, but it's a lot easier to catch it. If you're trying to work all this at the legislative point, just understand it's open to more chicanery. Backroom deals. Remember California? We'll let it go all the way up to midnight. Remember that? So this is what you're up against. This is what you're up against. But I have no issue with the conversation going on. If something has the word reparations in it, I have no issue with that. As a matter of fact, there are multiple levels you can study things. But as long as we're studying to strictly define what's going to be done, not studying to find out if something will be done, there's where we get in trouble. And after you finish this quote study, we can come back and do another one. There's a whole bunch of things that we can go and study so we can define the hard lines of. No issue with that, just so long as you don't tell me that we're studying if it should be done. Because here come in, I got to say it, here come in your biracials and here come in your foreigners, and then they start telling everybody about we're having a meeting to say that we don't need reparations. Like, who the hell brought you in here? You're not even eligible. So it becomes that. It becomes that. So when you heard that the Governor Moore vetoed it, just understand he's coming with that garbage about, well, don't worry, we got a program over here. Here's some money for the HBCUs. That's not revolutionary change. Now, let me go ahead and show you what is, because you see, I was talking about this before. They're talking about data centers up there in Maryland.
That's about all we can ask for.
Lawmakers also overturned several vetoes from Governor Wes Moore, including a bill to study the impact of data centers on the state.
It studies things like the air environmental impacts. It studies the economic impact on how many jobs are brought to your state when you build that. It studies the demand on the cost of energy.
Now, did you all get that? Now, when it comes to Elon Musk and Oracle and their data centers, when they're talking about a study, they're talking about what's about to get done. They're not discussing if there will be data centers. They only want to discuss what's going to be the requirement to get it in. Do you see the difference there? They are not arguing over if there's going to be data centers. The companies coming up there, all they want to discuss is about, okay, here's going to be we're going to make sure that these are the qualifications. Here's the environmental impact. And then we're going to start building. Then we're going to start building. So you see, even with these large corporations, I'm like, if you're going to talk about study, I want to talk about what they getting. Do you think that they want a study because it's a stalling tactic, or it's a red herring, or it's a bait and switch? Do you think that's what they want a study for? Or do you think the study is simply the precursor for what's going to happen, so it clearly defines the terms under which they will move forward? Okay, you can tell us about this environmental standard over here. You can tell us about this economic impact over here. And once we have defined what those are, now we start building. The study is, for them, is simply a precursor to getting it done. I want that kind of action. I want that study right there. The same study that you're offering the data centers, I want that study right there. Sign us up for the same one you're offering them. Because they didn't come to talk and they didn't come to stall. They came to get it in. Okay, I want when you talk about a study, I want you to copy and paste the same one you offering them. Copy and paste that study for us over here. That's what I want. And what I'm telling you all is that Governor Moore isn't moving on any of that. I need to remind you all of a crucial fact. Your politicians are supposed to be your representatives. Being your representative means that they are supposed to be your head cheerleader. They are not supposed to be agents of the possible. They are supposed to be agents of challenging the quote unquote impossible. Their job is the stuff that they can get past, but also changing the conversation of the landscape for things that will get passed in the future. Maybe it's something that doesn't get passed today, but that's irrelevant. They sit up here and support a whole bunch of stuff that doesn't get passed all the damn time. You're talking about vetoes that just got overturned. So they cannot sit up here and tell you that their excuse is going to be, oh, well, we want to really focus on stuff that can get done here. Nothing ever gets done until somebody pushes for it. And then they start telling us that they don't even have to do that, but they want your support. No, your job is to be our chief advocate, and you push for that. Whether it quote unquote passes or not, you're supposed to push for it. We're supposed to turn on the TV and you're supposed to push for that. Donald Trump is sitting up here throwing out outlandish stuff every damn day because it's the last time he'll ever be president. It doesn't matter for him whether it gets through or doesn't. He'll say anything because his goal right now is just moving the so-called Overton window. But your black politicians should be doing that too. They're supposed to be your chief advocates and your chief cheerleaders for your causes and your agenda. And then they use the bait and switch of, well, I didn't think it would pass. Nothing passes until you push for it. Nothing passes until you push for it. And that brings me to the next person here. Because, by the way, if you thought it was just limited to Governor Wes Moore, oh, no. Not limited to just him, because there is this out there. The Daily Caller has jumped on this. They're trying to Kamala Harris Jasmine Crockett, although she does a lot to help them do this. This is from a recent interview that she gave here, I believe. Daily Caller talked about this, and you can listen to what she says for herself.
I'm going to try to get through these quickly. There's some misinformation going around about your stance on reparations. I guess just based off of someone proposed what we do with tax dollars, and you gave critique for the idea, but you weren't necessarily saying you were anti-reparations.
No.
And you've told me you've come lead on a couple projects.
Yes, like Truth and Reconciliation in the House. That's something that Barbara Lee was leading on that I'm now working on. I think that anybody that knows me knows that I'm a fan of, making sure that people understand our contributions as
our contributions. That's a big word, Representative Crockett. Our is a big word. So when you use that word, that means something. And then we start listing, because when you say this is our contributions, we got to check and see if you are acting in our interests or whether or not you talking like something else. Just thought I'd remind you.
Was leading on that I'm now working on. I think that anybody that knows me knows that I'm a fan of, making sure that people understand our contributions, as well as acknowledging the harm that has happened as relates to our people. And so for me, it's always been about what is it that we can actually get past?
Okay.
Because
Nigga, what? How please? Nigga, please.
Yeah, did you catch that? Well, for me, it's really about what can we get past? That ain't your damn job to try to figure that out. You're supposed to be an advocate. You're not here to tell us, well, I didn't push for this because I don't think this will get passed. That's not your damn job to try to figure out that gets passed. It is your job to push for it. Let me be very, very clear about something about Jasmine Thought Pocket Crockett. Yeah, I'm back on that. Y'all go and take a look at the number of bills that Jasmine Crockett has sponsored. You go take a look at the number of bills that Jasmine Crockett has sponsored or co-sponsored. She's got a whole laundry list of stuff that hasn't passed and isn't going to pass. If she's so concerned about what quote unquote can pass, then what most of the stuff she's set up here and tried to promote hasn't passed and never is going to. So you're not going to sit up here and come to us and tell us that that's the criterion that we're going to work on now. Oh, we need to fall back unless she decides that she thinks it's, if I need to decide if it's something that can pass. Meanwhile, she's pushing all kinds of stuff that's never going to pass. So this tells you that these are little phrases that they use only with us. They don't talk this way to other people when they talk about what can or can't get done. They don't talk hell, she didn't talk that way to the illegals. Oh, I'm sorry, those are her people. Damn! Talking about the illegals, Trump rounding them up and this, that, and the other, and she's telling us what kind of work we won't do. She's not giving the illegals, oh, well, can't do nothing for you here. We got to focus on what can pass. And right now, folks is giving you the boots. They're giving you the boots and the beats. So, yeah, can't get none. Well, she's not talking to her people, the immigrant class. She's not talking to them that way. But when it comes to the foundation and the soil, all of a sudden, here she comes. Now that she's on the spot and being asked directly, all of a sudden, here she comes with the nonsense. So this is her. It is a Kamala Harris moment, just not the way that these folk were talking about. She wasn't throwing a word salad. What she just said was very clearly heard. The bait and switch trick bag language. Let me do everything except be the advocate for what it is.
Harm that has happened as relates to our people. And so for me, it's always been about what is it that we can actually get past? Okay. Because I feel like what we do is we constantly have the conversation and we're like, reparations. But it's like, all right, so if we were to move forward in any way, what does that look like? And so,
has she come to any of us to find it out, people? Show me who. Show me specifically who Representative Crockett has spoken to about answering the question that she just asked. If you believe she's asking that in good faith and that she's not on some bull crap, where has she gone or where has she been to even ask that question? Folks, if you don't take her seriously asking that question, give me the telephone emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. It's over 3,000 people in here live. But if you all don't believe that she's talked to anybody about that, give me the telephone emoji in the chat room and hit the likes button for me. I wanted to do this as yet another reminder for you all to show you that, by the way, they're not ignorant about this. Take a look at what the hell she's saying. Where's her town hall meeting about this? Who is she speaking to? Who has she spoken to? And at this point, why does she need to speak to anybody else? Shouldn't she be able to define who it is and what it's for? Oh, sorry, she can. So when you put them on the spot, all of a sudden their damn language starts changing.
Feel like what we do is we constantly have the conversation and we're like, reparations. But it's like, all right, so if we were to move forward in any way, what does that look like? And so, I look at it like, I think it takes kind of some bold, unapologetic people to move the needle. We know that Donald Trump advocated for reparations for January 6ers, right? And so it's like, why is that not a big controversy, right? Like, I mean, that's a bit more controversial in my mind, right? So why is it that we can sit here and be okay with the fact that billionaires are going to get historic tax cuts that are permanent, and we're not talking about like really evaluating what could move the needle as it relates to how far behind we got because of our contributions, basically just from slave labor and
she's supposed to be a lawyer.
Nigga, what?
And she's supposed to be a lawyer. Between her and Hakeem the Dream Jeffries. Both of similar lineages and background, but you get the idea. Folks, this is what happens when you don't actually have a core. This is what happens when you don't actually have a position on the issue, when you're used to throwing out a term. You're used to throwing that term reparations out there, and without anybody stopping and asking, by the way, what do you mean when you say that? And what you all just heard is that she doesn't know what she means when she says that, which really means that she only parrots it because we say it, and she's really just looking for us to get the hell out of her face. Well, I used the word reparations, didn't I? Yeah, but you didn't define it. And we just heard you very clearly don't even have a definition. Well, Jason, why is that critical that she refuses to articulate a definition? People, she can't be attacked for something she didn't say. She can't be attacked for something she didn't say. So if any of her Republican opponents or whatever tried to go after her for reparations, they can only say reparations. She never defined what it is. So if she's ever in front of white people, which is where your answers really matter, and she gets put on the spot, then she'll just pull a Governor Wes Moore and tell us that reparations can be scholarships. Reparations can be food stamps or green stamps. So just recognize why she's giving herself this wiggle room, refusing to define what it is, even though she's been using that word for years. And this is the trick bag that the Democrats always pull. They started adopting using our vocabulary and using our vernacular. And they think this is the old days where if they repeat the words that we use, then we will just assume that they mean it the same way. And we won't do our due diligence and get them to define and clarify. Wait. I know you're repeating the word I used. What do you mean by that? And then we shut up and let them talk. And what are we finding? Once again, you have a new generation of younger folks. The Democrats have got younger people trying to pull the same damn scam. Y'all can tell the folks in the chat room what her background is for those who don't know. For those who do not know Jasmine Crockett's background, by the way, you can go ahead and in the chat room, y'all can let the folks who are asking about that, y'all can let them know what her background is. Since very clearly they didn't get the idea when I said it before, but all right, y'all can let them know. Y'all can let them know what the background is. But in any case, that's the reason why we have been doing our due diligence. We're checking the paperwork. We're not assuming anything because y'all done pulled this scam year after year. So no, nobody is going to let you get away with just sitting up here saying something and then we just assume it's going to be all right. We do not just sit up here and you say something and then we just assume it's okay. We're not doing that. We know that you all have been playing this game for the longest damn time. And so I wanted to show you all, it isn't just Wes Moore. It isn't just him. There's a number of them now. And remember, I want you all to understand, reparations is a litmus test. Reparations is a litmus test. It has nothing to do with, quote unquote, what can get passed. It's got nothing to do with what, quote unquote, can get passed. Reparations is a litmus test. It's a litmus test that gets us to immediately determine where you stand on what is important and what matters. It allows us to instantaneously cut past the bull crap, and we can get right to it. When you talk to Donald Trump, when his people ask you about America first, the reason for asking about immigration is because they want to cut to the bull crap. Their priority is, are you America first? That is white America first. And so those are litmus test questions. If they really cared about illegals, they would go and arrest all the white men on these farms and these plants and these factories employing the illegals. But that's not what they're doing. So they're asking you something else. And when these people get asked about reparations, this is the first time that the society has seen that we're asking a coded question. The reparations question is a coded question. Yeah, you hear the word reparations, but there's something specific that we hear of the freedmen and the descendants of the American slaves. There's something specific that we're listening for when the conversation of reparations comes up in a political context. There's something specific that we're looking for. Something specific. And there's where things go down badly for them. We're listening for something else. We're listening for that. And so when these topics come up and they start giving wrong answers, or they start with the usual Democrat political stalling tactics, that's the thing that we're looking for. We're looking for that. And they're not accustomed to it. They're not accustomed to this. So back in the day, they used to be able to just dance the Dougie and do the Al Green thing and, oh, let me shuffle my feet. And then they make some remark that's real vague and it's open to interpretation. And then everybody just goes running off saying, well, I guess they're on our side. I mean, they used the word that we did. They acknowledged it. So I guess they're with us. I guess they're with us. So it becomes that. It becomes that. I wanted you to see that the Democrats are rolling out new people, and when these subjects are coming up, I want you to see exactly what it is, the strategy they think they've settled on. I want you to see what the strategy is that they think they've been able to settle on. And what you see with Jasmine Crockett is even she's not ready. She's not ready to address that. She's not ready to address that. Governor Moore, he thinks he's slick. This is one of the issues that we have. These people, they grab folk who are not from the soil and then they send them out there and they're supposed to be smarter than us, which is what they do. But the whole game is that, well, they kind of got your complexion and their job is to deceive the next generation. That's their job. Their job is to deceive the next generation. They're hoping that they can do a better job of it. At least they're hoping that they can. A lot of folks are going to get taken in. A lot of folks are going to get taken in. And that brings me to somebody else. And I know I'm touching on a number of things here. I know I'm touching on a number of things. But I would be remiss if I didn't touch on this. So I need to cram this in. Oh, man. Candace Owens. Y'all, Candace Owens is, and we have to review these things because it is necessary for us to make it clear to everybody that when you do something, just understand you're not the Negro whisperer. Your paperwork is dirty as hell. You don't get to wrap yourself in our righteous grievance. Candace Owens had her opportunity to do this years ago. She flatly refused. And every time White Daddy starts putting lashes on the ass, all of a sudden racism exists. Or should I say specifically, anti-black racism starts to exist. Anti-black racism doesn't exist until Candace Owens needs some cover and needs some protection. Then all of a sudden, anti-black racism exists, but only in reference to herself. It's only in reference to her, not in reference to the rest of us. Recently, Candace, they're having their little turning point get together. Was America Fest. All right. Well, they let Ben Shapiro speak at Turning Point's America Fest. And well, Candace Owens said that at the last Turning Point event that they had right before Charlie Kirk got killed, that folks there didn't want Tucker Carlson there, but Charlie Kirk brought Tucker Carlson. And when Tucker Carlson said, maybe I'll just moderate what I have to say, Charlie, I don't want to get you in trouble with your backers or whatever. And they said that Charlie Kirk told Tucker Carlson, no, you don't have to do that. Go Max. You can go Max. Well, Ben Shapiro showed up at America Fest, and I suppose Turning Point told him that he could go Max. And so he gets up on the stage and he's attacking Tucker Carlson and particularly Candace Owens. Well, Candace got on her YouTube channel and she had a few choice words to say here. She wanted to regale us all with a story. She wanted to go off on Ben Shapiro and she wants to regale everyone with a story. By the way, fair use, Candy. Fair use. I want you all to hear what she has to say here because she goes on for a while. I will not play the whole thing. I'm not going to play the whole thing. But she wanted to respond to Ben Shapiro, and she decides to respond by basically doing a very, very mean girls, clueless mean girls rant. It was all just very catty, to be totally honest. Listen to what she says her first grievance about Ben Shapiro is.
So here's what he did. Elsewhere in my interview with Tucker, he asks me who I look up to, who I like. And I told Tucker the truth that it was my dream to meet Thomas Sowell. That when I first got into politics, I read a ton of Thomas Sowell books, and I had tried many times to meet him. And obviously he's aging, but I really looked up to Dr. Thomas Sowell. And here's that clip with me and Tucker.
Who do you listen to when you're trying to figure out? I mean, some of the stuff comes at you so fast, and you're talking almost every day.
When has this worked? Oh, it's never worked. So they're telling me about he future, and there's no evidence to support that. So when Ben saw that, he decided, Thomas Sowell, hey, that's your dream. You love Thomas Sowell. He thought that was an opportunity to get even with me for taking the high road after he insulted me on stage because he's deeply jealous of Tucker Carlson for reasons that I cannot quite understand. Ben had his team reach out and schedule an interview with Thomas Sowell, which they paid for an offensive amount of money, I presume, to effectively purchase a black man who has no idea what's going on. He's very old, he's in his 90s.
Oh, please.
To purchase a black man? Folks, since when did Candace Owens respect being black? I mean, isn't she Miss Race Doesn't Matter for the last decade? All of a sudden, a man being black is relevant? Since when has that ever mattered to her? Hasn't she always been the chief apologist for colorblindness? And if you bring up race, the problem is that you're bringing up race. I mean, when has she ever acknowledged anti-black racism? Now you're talking about purchasing a black man. Folks, oh, this is not the only one. Don't worry, we got a few more. This is not a one-off thing. She wanted to make a point of this racial allegory over the course of several minutes. So this is just the first one, but I just wanted to let you all know, by the way, when has she ever talked like that before? When has she ever thrown some subtle, and that's not very subtle, but a racial allegation like that? When has she ever done that? Ever? Asking for a friend?
Deeply jealous of Tucker Carlson for reasons that I cannot quite understand. Ben had his team reach out and schedule an interview with Thomas Sowell, which they paid for an offensive amount of money, I presume, to effectively purchase a black man who has no idea what's going on. He's very old, he's in his 90s, to hurt my feelings, okay? Interview with Tucker is on the 15th. I think it premieres on the 16th. And Ben gets Thomas Sowell, who he doesn't care about. I'm working at the Daily Wire at this moment, and I'm about to give birth in 3 days. But this was supposed to be like an FU Candace for taking the high road and saying that genocide is always wrong. That is what I mean when I say he is an incredibly petty man, okay? Now, we know how this ends. I then am fired not for what I said, but for what they assumed that I meant, and for trolls that I didn't respond to. And I want to be clear, you can fire whoever you want. You really can if you're a business owner. It's just that this was atypical in the fashion that it was done, right? It wasn't done in the way where you just say, okay, get out of here, it's not working. Instead, what they decided to do was humiliate me in front of all of the other employees by, rather than having a conversation, sort of dramatically having me exit after doing my show, not knowing that I was going to be fired. And then they had put together a stage in my studio and put up clips put together basically a whole package, like almost like a high school play, and conducted what I honestly, when I look back, because it recently leaked what happened at this quote unquote town hall, this is a slave hanging. This is a slave hanging, right? Gather around, everybody else is a slave. And let me tell you how this one messed up. Gather around and watch us whip this person. This is literally how I feel when I watch this, okay?
Nigga, what?
Oh yeah, y'all, this is Candace Owens telling you all that she is Toby from Roots. A woman who has flatly denied slavery and its effects A woman who has argued against reparations, and yet when they go at her, all of a sudden, well, yeah, here's that HBCU student we all remember from 20 years ago. Yeah, now she's reverting back to that. So she says what's convenient for her, and she thinks that she's so smart that she can just wrap folk around her finger. So now all of a sudden she's telling y'all that, by the way, this feels like but folks, shades of Clarence Thomas. This is a high-tech lynching. What? For those of you who are too young to remember when Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas was being nominated, they had to have hearings because he was accused of sexual harassment of Anita Hill in his office. And his defense during his confirmation hearings was to say that y'all just doing this to me because I'm black and this is a high-tech lynching. As soon as he gets on the Supreme Court, ain't no racism. So before he walked into the Senate, there's no racism. When they said, we don't think you're good because you like to sexually harass people, this is a high-tech lynching. Oh, never mind. We'll put you on the Supreme Court. Thank you. Ain't no racism. And that's exactly what happened. So you get folk like this. This is why you have to check the paperwork. You got to check the background. You got to check where these people grew up. You got to check how they've lived, because it gives you a preview of coming attractions and what's going forward. There's a whole bunch of folks who think they're going to play us. People both from within and from without. We have to be vulnerable to neither. But just so you know, Candace Owens, who never wasted an opportunity to tell you that slavery doesn't matter and certainly isn't relevant today, historic racism, generational racism, systemic racism, those things don't exist. Well, except when it affects her. Now, when it affects her, all of a sudden it exists, but only for Candace. It doesn't exist for any of the rest of us. It only exists for Naughty Brown Sugar. But it doesn't exist for any of the rest of us. If we bring it up, we're just whiners, or you're just woke. Candace sure as hell sounds plenty woke here, doesn't she?
Put together basically a whole package, like almost like a high school play, and conducted what I honestly, when I look back, because it recently leaked what happened at this quote unquote town hall, this is a slave hanging.
Oh, you're sounding pretty woke there, Candace. Sure you don't want to walk that backwards? You sure do sound pretty woke. All this slavery talk. All these slave allegories, and you're sounding pretty woke right now, Candace. You sure you don't want to just go ahead and let that go? Folks, this is Candace Owens. And remember, this happened before. We already did that program before. As soon as the Daily Wire starts putting the heat to her, all of a sudden, she starts talking about anti-black racism. All of a sudden, it exists, but only in reference to her. Oh, don't worry. There are more references here during this rant she went on. We're going to get to that.
This is a slave hanging, right? Gather round, everybody else is a slave. And let me tell you how this one messed up. Gather round and watch us whip this person. This is literally how I feel when I watch this, okay? And you'll know what not to do next. And here is a video of the then CEO, Jerry.
All right, we're not going to play that, but as you all heard right there, yeah, Candace Owens suddenly believes in slavery. She suddenly believes in systemic racism. She suddenly believes in all those things, but only when she thinks she can exploit it for her own personal gain. These are treacherous individuals. The reason that terms like tether have risen to prominence is because these are treacherous individuals. It's not something you're born, it's something you do. Yeah, it's a noun, but it's also a verb. It's not an incidental characteristic of where they were born. It is what they are in character and practice. We're going to go ahead and skip forward here because, by the way, we're not done yet. Candace Owens would like to go ahead and give that. But if you think she's done with the racial allegories, take a look at how many minutes forward we're going here. Oh, she's not done yet.
I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on.
Oh, yeah, folks. Why, she's a runaway slave. Why, Candace Owens wants us to know that she's one of the field slaves. Why, can't you all tell she's Harriet Tubman? Yes, sir, she wants you all to know she is free. Because we all know that all the free slaves sleep with massa. Damn! What? We all know all the free slaves do that, right? So she wants you all to know is she is off the plantation. The 720 degrees of analysis you receive absolutely nowhere else. As your anchor man of the new black media, I put myself through the drudgery and punishment of listening to this myself so that you all will not have to. And no one can accuse me of taking this out of context. It's very clearly in context. But yeah, she wants y'all to know that she's a field slave. You know, while she was defending George Zimmerman. You know, while she was attacking Eric Garner. You know, when she was attacking George Floyd, because that's what runaway slaves do, right? That's what runaway slaves do. Runaway slaves cape for massa. Didn't y'all know that? Didn't you know it? Oh, but Candace Owens is not done yet.
Nigga, what?
Oh, no. She thinks she is so smart. She thinks she is so slick. She really does. She really does. I'm going to back this up again because I want you to hear the whole thing. I'm going to let this next clip here play for about a minute. I'm going to let this all play in its context. She's talking about Ben Shapiro now. She's talking about Ben Shapiro, but I want you all to hear this in its full, proper, in its complete context. So I'm not going to interrupt it here. And by the way, yes, Miss Christian with the cross behind her with such a filthy little potty mouth. Ma'am, haven't you just given birth to children and yet Miss Good Fundamentalist Christian Catholic with the little potty mouth? Ma'am, what would Jesus say? What would Jesus say if he could hear you right now? What kind of representative of the faith are you? All right, let's let her rip.
Stalk and harass them for years after. I'm here to let you know that I'm done with it. I am done with it. This one is so fully off of the mother effing plantation. Truly, Ben Shapiro, fuck you and the midget horse that you rode in on. And I say that on behalf of the world. I know you're going to get applauded by Konstantin Kisin and Andrew Christ is King Clavin and all of the people, the men who have to keep applauding what you do like you're a 4-year-old to make you feel good. But the rest of the world can't stand you. You're obnoxious. You have absolutely no values that exist outside of the Talmud. You describe yourself as a Talmudic Jew. And I've learned what's in that Talmud, and I encourage other people at home to learn what is in that Talmud so that you know what Ben thinks of you, because he doesn't just hate me, he hates you too, white men. He hates all black people, okay? If he's following the rules of the Talmud, I mean, when I say hates, they think that we're animals.
So let me get this straight. She feels like she's getting beat up by Ben Shapiro. So her way of fighting back is to say, by the way, everybody, this guy who doesn't like me, he doesn't like any of the rest of you either. All the rest of you, I don't like Ben Shapiro, and the rest of you shouldn't like him either. Now, I was perfectly peachy keen and booed up with him when Daily Wire was paying me to attack black people. That I didn't have a problem with Ben Shapiro back then. But ever since they started putting the beats and the boots on me, then now all of a sudden I want you all to know that I don't like Ben and you shouldn't like him either. I thought we all started recognizing these manipulation tactics back in 5th grade. So she doesn't want to go after him solo. She wants backup. She wants all the rest of us to back her up. So I just wanted you all to hear that right there. By the way, we know Ben doesn't like her. But by the way, white men, he doesn't like you. And black folk, he doesn't like you. Yeah, Candace, we've always known that he hated black people, which is why none of us would ever go to work for him. Unlike you.
Oh, please.
See, Candace, there's a reason why the rest of us never would have been so lowly and unscrupulous as to go to work for Ben Shapiro. We've always known he hated black people and black men in particular. But you were fine with that because you're not with a black man. So as far as you were concerned, Ben Shapiro can hate black men all he wants, just so long as he doesn't have a problem with bug-eyed brown sugar. Pardon the expression. So when you thought you were his favorite brown sugar and that you were exempt from his white supremacy, you had no problem with his white supremacy as long as you thought you were exempt. Just so long as you thought you had a pass, you didn't care about Ben Shapiro and the Daily Wire's daily white supremacy, Matt Walsh and everything else. Wall-to-wall white supremacists, you were the only black face in the damn room, and you were fine with it. For years. You were fine for years, right up until they let you know, by the way, you's a nigga too. Now you want to pretend that you're exposing something? We've been saying this forever. Why is it wasn't until you got attacked that now you're saying it? Man, we've been saying this for years. You're the Johnny Jenny come lately, trying to pretend that you're breaking news. If you had a problem with his white supremacy, you should have had a problem with it a decade ago when all the rest of us were saying it. You didn't have a problem with it then. It's only when you got fired, now he's a racist. And you think you're going to sit up here and point your finger and the rest of us are going to have a problem with him? My opinion of Ben Shapiro can't get any lower. And it's nothing that he's done to you. You and him were sitting there cheering about the death and the murder of George Floyd and saying that, it was because he was a drug addict. You were the one running around with the Trayvon hoax.
Nigga, what?
Yeah, Candace Owens was the one running around talking about Daniel Holtzclaw has been wrongfully convicted. All those black women that he was convicted of sexually assaulting, there wasn't a single black woman standing up for him except Candace Owens. Candace Owens has defended every white person who has harmed a black person out the gate. All she wants to know is if a black person's been harmed, she just wants to know the race of the assailant. If they're black, you niggas are savages. If they're white, you had it coming. So she has been the defense attorney across the board. Daniel Holtzclaw, Trayvon Martin, Eric Garner, you name it. George Floyd, she was a big defender of his murder. By the way, digging up conspiracy theories and all manner of, I found evidence. So to the white dudes who don't like what she's doing with Charlie Kirk's murder, she was been doing that to us now for a decade. So if you weren't speaking against it then, you don't have a leg to stand on now. But by the way, Candace Owens has always been an apologist and a defender of people attacking and hurting black people. She's always been that. So now for her to sit up here and try to cry foul because her friends that she used to run with attacking us, now they've decided that they would have more fun attacking her. It doesn't work that way, kid. You're not slick enough to manipulate us like that. It's not going to work for you. By the way, I'm not done yet, people. She thinks she's nickel slick. She's not done with the petty attempts at manipulating tactics. She's not done yet. By the way, she decides to go scorched earth on this one. She decides to go scorched earth here, folks. Paging Kanye West.
And to people that are at home, I implore you to wake up to these people who believe that they are contract lords. I challenge Black Americans to wake up to your true history, because your quarrel is not with white men.
Nigga, what? Ho, please.
Oh, please. Oh, please.
Nigga, what?
Nigga, please.
Nigga, please. Nigga, what?
Yeah, folks. You thought you had heard it all. Yeah, you thought you had heard the most outlandish stuff. Candace Owens is trying to talk as if she's our leader. As if she has authority or credibility to lead us. Ma'am, you're going to have to get an Oral-B toothbrush and brush them white men's butt cheek prints off your lips from all that ass kissing. But you all heard her. She's talking as if she has the standing to talk to us as if she's one of the people. Not like she's one of the bedwenches or traitors. She's one of the people. Oh, she's a field slave now, y'all. Why, she's all against white supremacy now, as long as she thinks that she can steer us towards her enemy. When she thinks that she can steer us towards her enemy, all of a sudden she wants to address black people. And she doesn't want to address black people about white supremacy. First thing she says is your quarrel's not with the white man. Okay, then what has been? You want to talk about being petty? That sounds like it to me.
And will continue to fight and ask questions about who killed Charlie Kirk. And to people that are at home, I implore you to wake up to these people who believe that they are contract lords. I challenge Black Americans to wake up to your true history, because your quarrel is not with white men, okay? Wake up to who publishes these books and keeps us warring with one another. Christians versus Christians, right? Christians versus Muslims. Wake up and learn the true history of slavery, because that wasn't exactly a white men sport, okay? Jewish people were the ones that were trading us. Jewish people were in control of the slave trade. They've buried a lot of it, but it's there and you can find it. I think all of us need to wake up to this, because it's making me absolutely sick that he is so bold that he dare sit near Charlie Kirk's chair, that he dare grace that stage.
Okay, let me go ahead and shut some of these things down here, folks. First of all, let me be clear about something here. Why in the hell is Candace Owens sitting up here talking about black people? The white man is not your enemy. Okay, if she's going to say that, why didn't she turn around and say, and white society, the black man is not your enemy? Damn! Folks, by the way, okay, if she's going to tell us the white man is not black people, the white man is not your enemy, I'm just curious, why didn't she turn around? You figure in usual speech, if you're addressing two groups about a third party, well, in usual speech structure, you would have addressed both groups to say, black people, the white man's not your enemy, and white people, the black man's not your enemy. Who is this third person over here? But she didn't do that. Did you notice that? She didn't do that. She's telling black folk about who isn't our enemy, but she doesn't tell white men anything. She doesn't pretend that she can tell the white men who their enemy is and set the rules. I guess psychologically she caught herself and realized, yeah, white men are not going to accept that. Well, guess what, heifer? We don't accept that off of your stupid ass either.
And deal with it.
But I just wanted to get you all's attention. And by the way, shouldn't she have addressed them as well? And yet she deliberately doesn't do it. Now, is that odd? Or is that actually very predictable when you realize she thinks she's playing us? And it's like, baby, you ain't got no credibility. You have no black audience. You have no black support. You are entertaining for those of us witnessing the right-wing civil war, and we will gladly sell you all the guns and bullets and ammunition that you need. If you need a few more grenades, we'll see if we can, a jet plane, whatever you need, baby, we'll see if we can work that out for you. But you're not leading us, and you're not influencing us, and the fact that you said it is all the reason that we need to become suspicious, that we need to go in the other direction of whatever you say. Not only are you not like us, you have no credibility to speak to us. You knew what Ben Shapiro was and all that crowd over there at Daily Wire when you went there. And you figured it's okay that they hate black folk because you hate black folk too. Okay, well, this is it. These are the wages of sin. You are dead to us. These are the wages of sin. You do not get to attack black children who have been murdered by white supremacists, upheld by the American injustice system. You don't get to defend the murder of unarmed black people, unarmed black children, come up with outlandish theories that just sit up here and parrot whatever the white supremacists next to you say, and then you get to come back. No, folks, I'm saying this again, there are certain people who are unforgivable and irredeemable, and Candace Owens is at the top of that list. Do not bother trying to get protection or succor or any type of shielding from us. Do not bother attempting to get that. The die has been cast for you, and there is no reversing it. We will not survive as a people by inheriting some type of forgiveness gene for these type of vipers and traitors. We won't survive. She will have killed 10,000 of us, and there's no benefit that she could possibly serve that would offset the tremendous amount of damage and liability that she presents. Maybe there are some folk who have done some relatively minor things. She has not simply spoken against us. She has gone on campaigns and crusades against us. So-called exposés and documentaries. She was dedicating hundreds, if not thousands, of man hours against us. This is a heifer who has set up here and worked overtime, literally done work and labor overtime to go, not just to say one or two offhanded comments. She has gone on campaigns and crusades against us. Crusades that she has never done to the white supremacists. She has never done this to them. There isn't a racist white man in America, as far as she's concerned. You do not get to trample on the graves of dead black children, making up fabricated lies, defending their white supremacist murderers and the court system that enabled it and defended it. And then you get to come back to us over here. There's no sense in it. Don't think that you can explain it away. Don't think you can beg for mercy where it will fall on deaf ears. In a perfect world, you and those vipers would simply devour each other and it would be a far better planet for it. The only real regret we have is that you all have not devoured each other yet. Looks like you're on your way. But in a perfect world, it wouldn't be you beat Ben Shapiro or Ben Shapiro beats you. In a perfect world, you would both actually bite each other to death. In a perfect world. Who knows? We may have it yet. But in any case, I wanted you all to hear that, Candace Owens out there, boy, that's what happens when these folk think they can walk among us. Individuals who have defended slavery think they can tell us who the real slave masters are. Was George Washington Jewish? Was Thomas Jefferson Jewish? Was Jefferson Davis Jewish? What exactly is she going to say here, folks? Was the Pope Jewish? How many people who historically sat up here and gave the green light to enact the global system of white supremacy and to forge a global economy built on the chattel slavery of just one group, not 20, just one? Well, all of those are Jewish too? All of them? Yeah, that doesn't work out. That one doesn't match up. So she wants us, understand what she's doing here. She wants to tell us, okay, she will acknowledge a grievance just so long as it's against someone she doesn't like. But then telling us your issue's not with white society. It's not, I don't have an issue with Donald Trump, really? So she is still the white supremacist, bed-wenching, ass-kissing apologist she's always been. She's still their useful flunky. She's still their useful flunky. She's literally telling us, don't worry about white supremacy. The white man's not your issue. So Daniel Pentalio was not our issue. Darren Wilson was not our issue. That wasn't an issue. Amber Geiger wasn't an issue. Timothy Loman, so that wasn't an issue. Do you understand just how much we have to excuse and let go, folks? Geronimo Yanez, so that wasn't an issue. So we need to let all the Anglos go so that we can fall into being manipulated into targeting her, the Jewish people that she's got a grudge against. So we need to let all the Anglos, we need to let them off the hook. We got a laundry list over here, and she's telling all of us we need to give that a pass. Why? Because she's married to a white man, so all the rest of us have to give white supremacy a pass because she's married to a white man. Now, we're not supposed to grab up all the white supremacists. We're supposed to let the Anglos have a pass and then concentrate on the Jewish white supremacists, but let the Anglo white supremacists go. So that she can talk about how she served Zaddy. Will somebody come and get their brain damaged daughter over here? And for her to have the unmitigated gall to delude herself into thinking that she calls shots and that she is just so articulate and so popular that she's going to tell us who our enemy is. You know what, Candace? I will agree with you in that regard, though, in one context. The enemy is you.
And deal with it, nigga.
No, you're not going to tell us who our enemy is. You want to say the enemy's not those other people? well, then I'm not going to co-sign that, but I will just say, well, if you want to use that alliteration, well, the enemy is you. You're the enemy. You're not fooling anybody. Just as soon as the tables turn or you can get a bigger check somewhere else, just as soon as the heat's off, you'll be right back to your garbage again. Right now, it is more profitable for you to be counter white supremacist culture or counter right-wing culture. Right now, you've triangulated and it's more profitable for you to be that. But we're not fooled. If your fortunes change and it becomes more profitable for you to go back to attacking us again, you'll be right back on it. Like white on rice. You're not fooling us. You'll never fool us. And the reason you'll never fool us is because you'll never be among us again. Not now, not ever. Enjoy your exile. And enjoy Ben Shapiro or anybody else savaging you. And none of us running to your rescue. Rabbi Shmuley told you what you were worth, and it shut you up in real time because you knew he was right. And that was embarrassing and humiliating as hell. That this Jewish fella who you want so badly to be able to insult and put down, and he sat there and told you to your face that he knew that he could attack you and say whatever he wanted to because, quote, even black people don't like you. And that was him setting the stage that he was about to sit up here and rampage you, and that's exactly what he did. And you know what? He was right. He was correct. He knew you didn't have any black support. He knew you burned all your damn bridges. And he knew you are so on the outs that he can say it to your face. There's not even going to be any damn fez wearing hotep niggas running to your defense. That's just how badly you have torn it in black society. That Jewish fella knew that it wasn't even going to be the downest, most hotep black mother queen dude running to your defense. Even those dudes are like, yeah, I can't help you out with that. I'm busy. He knew you have no backup, no support, and ain't nobody coming, and even you asking would be offensive to us. And we let the dogs have you. And Ben Shapiro knows the same thing. They all got you to burn your bridges so that you have no black backup and your white backup is limited. So you trying to appeal to it now is not going to work. And they all know they can do you however they want to do you. And you are not going to be able to come to us and get anything but a get your ass on. That's all we got for you. And I know it's hell. It is hell when you see a room full of white men treating you a certain kind of way and you were endorsing it back when you thought you had a pass and were exempt from it. Now you feel some kind of way because you're like, you couldn't help but notice it isn't black people who took your job from you. It's not black people suing you. It's not black people going on crusades against you. It's not black people attacking your kids. It's not black people attacking you like that. No, it's the white men that you sold your soul to. It's them doing it. And then you have the gall to tell us who our enemies are or aren't. You have no standing to say that. But we do all agree the enemy is you. You and anybody you roll with, that's who the enemy is. That's who the enemy is. And I wanted to take this as a moment to remind you all that some of y'all get weak-kneed. I don't give a damn how entertaining you find her. This is not about do you agree with a few things. There has never been an ass-kissing house nigga who could say enough things that we agree with that we let them walk among us or that we support them. Let me say this again to some of the hammer-headed, hard-headed, brain-dulled idiot kids in the back of the classroom. There's never going to be a house nigga that says enough that we quote-unquote agree with that we give them a place among us. I don't care how much of what they say that you quote-unquote can agree with or don't have a problem with. They are poison. And they will never be able to agree with us on certain issues enough that they have a place among us. They stay over there. No, we cannot work together. You don't bring traitors amongst you talking about working together, dummy. You want allies, you get folks who are 10 toes down. I don't give a damn if it's only 5 of them. It's better to have 5 people who are willing to ride to the grave on your behalf than to have 10,000 traitors. Some folk ain't figured this out yet. When Candace Owens talked to Rabbi Shmuley, he ran wild on the ass and there was no backup. When Nick Fuentes sat up here and called her every damn name in the book, Nick Fuentes did it because he knew there wasn't going to be any black backlash. Now Ben Shapiro is doing it. You know why? Because he knows he has to worry about something, but he knows a black backlash isn't it. All these people know that none of us are going to come running to your defense. And that means that you are on your own. And that goes for you too, Governor Moore. That goes for you too. The old trick bag language is not going to work for you. You've had your Kamala Harris moment. And, oh, don't worry, you have not heard the last of reparations. So just in case you think you're going to twist it and change it around and put a good spin on it, oh, don't worry, we'll be back to ask about that. And I have every confidence that your answers are going to be just as inept and will make you look even worse. I have every confidence that the more you get asked about this, it will get even worse. You folks are not pimps who talk all nickel slick and you can just talk your way out of anything because you got a silver tongue. That's not going to happen. We have long memories. And by the way, I just want to remind you all of one more thing. For the folks 2 years ago, and well, Jason, after Kamala Harris and Biden, what about Wes Moore? What about Wes Moore? What about Wes Moore? Remember what I told you all? Wes Moore is a non-factor. I said the thing about him is he's trying the Obama strategy. You all think he might be he might have the potential to be solid because he hasn't said anything. I told y'all the more he talks, the more people will dislike him. Remember, I've been saying that now for over 3 years, that Wes Moore is not a factor. You all are just giving him a pass because he's not saying anything. But the more he talks, when he actually starts to get questioned and has to answer questions, and people are paying attention not locally but nationally, the more he talks, the more he will be disliked because he'll actually have to start taking positions. Guess what? Now he's having to take positions, and now people, the more he talks, the more you don't like him. Exactly the way I called it 3 years ago. And the worst thing for him will be for him to start talking. The more he gets asked, he'll fall into Kamala Harris syndrome because there's no way you put a spin on this that will satisfy the masses. Even the local reporters are figuring that out. Even they are. That's where they're getting in trouble. So he's going to try it, and you all can just see already it's not going good. It's not going good. So yes, folks, the reparations litmus test is going bad for a number of folks out there. They thought they were going to get peace and mercy. They figured that was going to happen. And you're getting questions that are being asked that they are not prepared to address. You're asking questions and they are not prepared to address them at all. And it's only going to get worse. It's only going to get worse. I want y'all to understand that it is only going to get worse as you get closer to time for elections and things. Real questions get asked. They need for the troops to rally. They don't need to have a headwind. They really, really need that. If they think that Trump discontent syndrome is going to carry everything, it'll only work in certain places. Nationally, it's not going to have the strength they're hoping it will. It's not going to have the strength nationally that they hope it will. However, you might disagree. You might disagree. Therefore, we're going to go ahead and open up the Zoom for you here. We'll go ahead and open up the Zoom for you here so that you all will have the opportunity to give us a call. If you've been instructed by the mods to call in, you definitely need to do that. So this will be your opportunity to step front and center. And you can get your questions addressed directly from the source. Hurry, step right up. Don't be scared now. In the meantime, I want to thank everyone, and I do mean everybody who has contributed to support tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out to DMV Nation. Thank you very much for your support. We appreciate that. Delaware, Maryland, Virginia. To Nancy King, TBA always told us to watch out for the trick bag language. Words mean everything and who it is coming from. Absolutely. To my man, Grind Time, thank you very much for your support here as well. We appreciate that. To Mr. Richbird, O'Brien, Tucker, thank you very much for your support as well. We're going to go ahead and take a brief non-commercial break. When we come back, we will take some of your calls and more. This is the Black Channel.
Be the teacher, knowledge on the block. Got the kids learning, minds open like a lock. Books and skills from the east to the west. Bringing education, yeah, we're simply the best. Classes on fire, brains burning with desire. Innovation driving like a tire through the mire. Math, science, history, we got the whole range. Kids hitting new heights, teachers making a change. Used to be the teacher, stacking up the grades. Future bright shining, no need for no shades. Got the youth thriving, moving up the ladder. Smart and sharp, brains growing fatter. Lessons so lit, yeah, they stay in a blaze. Every mind sharp like a sword in the haze. Mr. B in the house breaking knowledge chains. Education kingpin, we repping the gains. Used to be the teacher.
Order yours today to experience all the benefits of Ash Kickin' Body Butter. With skin so smooth and soft, you'll thank us for it. Shop Ash Kickin' online. That's ASHKICKIN.com.
Hi, this is Brenda Starr, creator of Poetry with a Purpose and author of the book Pressed But Not Crushed. Pressed But Not Crushed is an anthology of political poems that address current and historical issues in American descendants of slave population and African American population. The book describes slavery and its residuals, Jim Crow segregation, social depredation, and other relevant issues to American descendants of slaves and African Americans, including the current political climate that does not address our issues.
This is the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. Very glad to be with you all here this evening. And I want to help put this in its proper context for you all. Folks, it's a new day. It is a new day. The old bootlicking civil rights generation played nice about this garbage. They played nice about this mess. I want y'all to understand, folks are talking different. They're not addressing us the same way that they used to. They're not trying to bait and switch like they used to. They don't really know what to do, but the old stuff, they ain't really doing that. I'm showing you that. Governor Moore, the Republicans in Maryland, Jasmine Crockett, even Candace Owens. Even Candace Owens, ass-kissing Candace, has found some act right. She's not giving none of that old sassy energy that she was 4 years ago, 3 years ago, 2 years ago now, is she? I mean, we got a brand new coon up here. So I want you all to understand, to all the folks out there, there's a lot of folks who are mad because they see that the energy has shifted. They see that it has shifted. They see that Trump didn't make it out of the first year before he became irrelevant. Everybody knows what this means. Everyone knows that we have been on the march and on the crusade now for over a decade, and they know that we have not abandoned it or given it up. So they know that just as soon as Trump falls off here, the momentum and the pendulum's going to swing right back over here to us again. They know it. And that's why everybody's monitoring their tones and watching how they talking, because they know that politically we are on an eternal crusade. These folks show up and then go home. They know we on the field and ain't leaving. That's a big change. So everybody's trying to get in position because they understand what it's going to be. I want to play this thing one more time here. For those of you who may have joined us later or whatever, I want to play this thing one more time. I want to play it one more time so you all can hear what Candace had to say here. Candace would like us all to know that she is here to tell us who the real enemy is, and that the enemy isn't. She wants to tell us who the enemy isn't, and that it isn't. Black folk, you need to wake up. The enemy isn't the white man.
And will continue to fight and ask questions about who killed Charlie Kirk. And to people that are at home, I implore you to wake up to these people who believe that they are contract lords. I challenge Black Americans to wake up to your true history, because your quarrel is not with white men, okay? Wake up to who publishes these books and keeps us warring with one another. Christians versus Christians, right? Christians versus Muslims. Wake up and learn the true history of slavery.
Okay, Candace, I challenge you to kiss my black ass. That's what I challenge you to do. If you can tear your lips away from White Zaddy's butt cheeks long enough. In any case, let's go ahead and jump over here on Zoom right quick. Let's go ahead and do that. All right, we got iPhone here. What's your name?
Oh, I'm sorry. My name is Jay.
Hello, Jay. What's on your mind? Looking
Hi,
like Tisha Campbell. What's on your mind?
Oh, that's a first for that. Thank you for taking my call, first of all. And I think you are absolutely awesome. And I just discovered you this past year. However, I was riding home just tonight because I had watched Candace's episode from yesterday, today. And I was just sitting here like, okay, like you said earlier, the entertainment portion, the fact that she's exposing all of this stuff and the white supremacists are killing each other, I am here for it. But when she said that part about wake up, Black America, wake up, I'm like, who are you talking to? Because last time I checked, aren't you Black too? But maybe she's not. Maybe she sees herself as a white woman.
No, she sees herself as above us. That's the problem with these little Black kids who got raised in white schools. They told them, oh, you're special, you're better than the other Negroes. And they came away with a superiority complex that they have never let go of. And they've carried it into adulthood. And now you see it.
Yes. Yeah. And that was the energy, like she was talking down. And because she has gotten to this level of financial success and the attention of like Tucker Carlson, because she keeps his name in her mouth so much. But Jason, this is my question.
I'm not black. I'm not black. I'm OJ. But go ahead.
Yes. Who do you think is padding her as far as like security? Because how is she able to do this much talking without them coming after her?
I mean, well, according to her,
Mm-hmm.
they have. I mean, that's what she mentioned during that video. I didn't play all of that and stuff there, but obviously there have been some legal things that have been going on in the meantime. However, Candace, I mean, she played the game straight, to be totally honest with you. She ran around with Charlie Kirk. She basically beat out the rest of the coon competition. And I will still maintain that she has done way too much. She was way too personally involved with Charlie Kirk, even when she, quote unquote, left Turning Point. You will not convince me that they didn't have a relationship. This is not a female who's sticking up for a friend. This is a woman sticking up for her boo. I mean, she's just too deep off into this. She's just too concerned. It's like, y'all, you and Charlie were that tight because that didn't seem that kind of way before. And you had too many off the record interactions. I mean, these two were basically talking every day. Oh, dude, this doesn't, and she's not even working with y'all. How can that be? Unless there's more to it, and I strongly suspect that there is. And the more they keep talking about Erica Kirk, I'm like, yes, everything's coming down the way I'm thinking, so I'm going to stand by that. You're not going to convince me that there wasn't. But what I will say is that when she came to them, she came for the bag. Remember, she was all anti-black discrimination in college and stuff like that. As soon as somebody came waving the bag, all of a sudden ain't no racism. So she went the route. She went to PragerU. She went to Turning Point. So she's been climbing the white supremacist social ladder, but she's been doing it to get paid. Nick Fuentes talked about that. I talked about it years and years ago. Nick's late, but these people get paid for this stuff. Brandon Tatum, the Hodge twins, Candace Owens, Coleman Cruz. You know, there's a bag. Folks pay them for that. Coleman Cruz is working for Barry Weiss and CBS of the Free Press. So, of course, ain't no racism. We can go down the list. So these folk getting paid, man. They have. Your Diamond and Silk, they've been getting paid. The whole thing was don't blow your damn cover. Okay. Candace, however, was like, yeah, damn the little stuff. I'm going for a big bag. And then when she heard the Daily Wire was blowing up, okay, so she used PragerU as her stepping stone at Turning Point. Remember, big filthy rich multimillionaire started Turning Point, and it wasn't Charlie Kirk. We've already done that program.
Yeah.
She stepped up to Turning Point. Then she said, okay, I'm going to make my next step up to Daily Wire, because Jeremy Boring and them got their hands on venture capital for like $100 million. We going over there. And she's like, if I can get me a few million off of them, let me go do that, which she did. And then they made her a contract, and she said, where do I sign? And next thing you know, she got the bag, and she didn't stop climbing after that. She didn't. So she made sure that she had a multi-million-dollar deal first. Okay, now she got the bag, she got the money, now you keep it going. What she did smartly, by the way, is she kept in contact with her crew at Daily Wire. So the crew that was producing her show at Daily Wire, they all left with her when she got fired. So they still work for her now. But along with that, she also kept the lawyer.
Right.
So along with that, she also kept the lawyer. So in reality, she actually does run a lot of the stuff she says and does by him. The whole thing with Brigitte Macron and Daily Wire, she actually runs this stuff by him to see what she can say and what she can't say, which is really to determine what he thinks he can defend and what he doesn't think he can defend. So that's really what's going on there. So Candace didn't just do this out of nowhere. She knew she had the money. She had some backing for herself. She had the bag. She had support. She had millions of followers. She used Daily Wire to get her weight up as far as followers. And she knew that if she left, that a good chunk of them would go with her. And that's exactly what occurred. So she strategized very good at this. She played the game very well. And she's been on the ascendancy, and Daily Wire's been on the way out.
Well, where does her husband fit in at? What do you think about her marriage? Do you think it's real? Do you think it was like a hookup? Like, you know, like they were just put together? What do you think about that?
No, Candace Owens claims that like they got married within 3 weeks or whatever, some crazy low number like that. I mean, but look, the bottom line was she was looking for a white man. And I guess she figures he's British or whatever, so that's exotic enough to her. But I mean, she was looking for a white man. There's not really a lot of proof that he's papered up like that, y'all. So people make a lot of assumptions about that. There's not really a lot of proof that he's papered up that way. But regardless of that, I mean, she was looking for a white man to start having kids with. And he was the one she chose. He just needed to be white. I mean, that's just all. He just needed to be white, period. That's all he needed to be. He just needed to be white and willing to marry her. That's all he needed to be. That was the requirements. For a black man, you got to be 6'5" and so on. You know the drill. So, but that's all. There's nothing really special about him in that regard. I'm not down talking about him. I'm just saying there's nothing really special about him in that regard. He's not from some aristocracy or something. That's not the case.
But his father is a lord, right?
Okay, I mean that's a politician. I mean, it's not like he's got 5 castles in the hills. This is Game of Thrones. I mean, he's not that kind of lord. Right. It isn't. But the bottom line is, regardless of any of that, even if that were the case, they made it very clear that her politics and his dad's politics don't really align to begin with. And he's not really here to float them like that. And I don't think that's the case. I haven't seen anything that shows that she's financially leaning on them. If anything, she's paying for them. From what I've seen, if anything, it's like Serena Williams. If anything, she got the bag and she's paying for them. If anything. And by the way, we've seen this from Crystal and Karazine and all the rest of them. You will find out here later, it's just that they don't require anything. They'll be glad to work for him just so they can say they got a white husband. So in her case, she has completed her villain arc in that regard. She's completed the villain arc. Now, you asked a question about is it real or not? I mean, it's real enough that he signed up for it. But what I will also say is that probably one of the biggest warnings you get in a marriage or relationship is about who cares about the other more. Who is more head over heels for the other. And obviously she's more head over heels for him simply because she has a color fetish. I don't think I think it's a typical situation where he's like, yeah, he's the prize. She's made it very clear he's the prize. We all saw that coming before she married him. So it's been my experience that never works out very well. It never works out very well when the bed wench makes it very clear Zaddy is the prize because he's like, I don't have to do anything for you except stay white. We've all seen that story. And what does he have to do for her? He doesn't have to pay bills. He doesn't have to have generational wealth. You came to him because he's white. That is what he contributes. So that I am the prize because I'm white. And she's like, yes, you sure is. In her case, she better hope he never gets bored with it. She better just hope he never gets bored with it. Which I predict will happen. Because I'm just saying, you see her, she's insufferable. She is insufferable. Can you imagine what talking at the dinner table is like with her? It's right. She is insufferable.
I agree. Because she claims that, she tries to promote this trad wife persona, but who keeps the kids? Because you're on every single day, and it takes hours to get all that information together, get all the prepping. So when do you spend time with your kids? Since you're such a trad wife, Well, the biggest issue for her though is that she can't be corrected. There's the thing. When she's decided that she knows it all, she knows it all, and you can agree with her, but you can't correct her. And I for all the talk that she gives about old dude, I'm like, that you're doing a lot of virtue signaling and you think you're impressing the rest of us. And I'm not impressed by any woman's husband. It's like, why would I be impressed by your husband? That doesn't impress me. So, and furthermore, if he married you, I consider that to be a negative. So, but where they're concerned, I mean, look, it's typical bedwench stuff. I think the math and the odds are overwhelmingly against it. Working out in the long term. I couldn't tell you what that timeline is. I think she's going to try to hang in there for as long as she can. But I think ultimately, name any place she's been where she's gotten along with people for any real length of time. Her life is just a series of moving from one place to another, like Donald Trump. So you would be hard pressed to get me to believe that eventually this bridge isn't going to burn like all the others did. And then she will have completed the divorce arc at that point. So that's ultimately what I predict. But like, it's a typical bedwench marriage. Typical one. Well, thank you, Jason, so much. I appreciate you having me on. I listen to you every week, and I'm just so grateful that you guys are, putting out this information. I'm letting everybody know about you because we need voices like you. I mean, it is amazing. I'm just so glad that I found you on YouTube. I'm just very grateful for that.
Well, make sure you hit the subscribe button and check back with us every weekend. We'll be here.
Okay. Thanks, Jason.
Thank you for checking in with us here. And yes, and for everyone else out here, like I say, don't hit the subscribe button right now. I want you wait till the end of the program, except her, she can hit it now, but wait till the end of the program. See if we've earned your subscription by giving you the insight and analysis. If you think we have, you don't have to pay money. Just hit the subscribe button. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get Robert up here on Zoom. Okay, what's on your mind, Robert?
Yeah, TBA, one of the greatest master teachers in the history of our lineage and our anchor man of the new black media. First of all, real quick, I'm so glad that you played that footage, TBA, of Ku Klux Klandis Owens, because, all of a sudden she's sitting up here talking like Sister Soldier or somebody. She's so fake. But anyway, that's not why I was calling, brother. I just wanted to say real quick, for the longest time, I wanted to call you and share on one of your broadcasts about like the day after. I'm born and raised in Baltimore, Maryland. So the day after Governor Moore did that TBA, I put out a post and it was a picture of him. And I said basically in a few words, this man is a coon, he's a tether, and a traitor to our race. And the post TBA, it went hood viral. I call it hood viral because usually if I put out a post or something, it's going to get like 100 likes or something like that, a few hundred likes if it's something that people really into. This thing was like 6,500 likes, all kind of comments, like over 100 shares like by the noontime. And what it was mostly was people that I grew up with in Baltimore, TBA, people that I know personally, professional people and everything. He was like, brother, you out of order. You so wrong for saying that. Governor Moore is a good man. We finally got a black governor and you want to be saying stuff. I mean, people were tearing me up. And all of the people that were doing it, TBA, it was all the people that listening to your broadcast over all these years. You educated us on the prototypes of the people that would step up, and all of them did. My cousin, I love him, but he owns a big Christian church in Baltimore. He stepped up. No, brother, he was saying that he don't want to do the study thing. We can't keep wasting time on the study, cousin. It was him. That's the clergy, man. My older homeboy, he like 15 years older than me, so he in his mid-60s. That's the old nigga that you always talking about. No, brother, you got to give this man some grace. He out black governor, man.
Basically, they're recycling all of the old debunked Obama talking points that we heard 20 damn years ago. Every excuse and ass-kissing, back-down embarrassment that they gave then, they're just showing you they're back to recycle it all over again. They're not even using new ones. They're barely putting a new coat of paint on it. We heard all the exact same protestations and excuses almost 20 years to the date. Almost 20 years to the day we heard this before.
Right. And lastly, I want to say, man, so I just want to be quick, TBA. Lastly, I just want to say, man, people like yourself, Professor Black Truth, Tariq Nasheed, and anybody else in the new black media, man, I tip my hat to you guys because that one particular incident I was telling you about, like I said, it went hood viral, like 6,500 people chiming in. It went crazy, this post. And the negativity, it had me feeling so down that day, so drained. And like, I was like, why in the hell are my people this lost and this crazy? Like, this man is not for us. And all of them were defending him against what I said. So I'm just saying, man, you guys, man, I salute the heck out of you guys for you having to deal with this stuff day after day, year after year, decade after decade, like you guys have, because it can't be easy. That one day wore me out, man.
Well, here's the thing. Here's the thing about it, though, is you got to understand Old niggas got plenty of time to sit on Twitter or whatever else. I mean, that's like the new Price is Right for them. It's like the new daytime TV. They don't have a job, they're not working. And they got time to sit around and do that. Folks who are getting things done don't really have time to sit around and do stuff like that.
Right.
But also by the same token, could you imagine how much more impact we would have if we weren't suppressed? I mean, this is what we've done being suppressed. Could you imagine where we would be if we weren't suppressed on Twitter, if we weren't suppressed on Facebook, if we weren't suppressed on YouTube? Could you imagine what an earthquake it would be if they weren't suppressing us?
You people are completely suppressed and shadow banned. You right. And I know it's evident to anybody who's paying attention. Y'all all supposed to have, like, all the men that I just named.
Take a look at how much engagement you got from just that. Now imagine if we actually had the amount of engagement we're supposed to have. I went on Twitter today and there's Elon Musk at the top of my damn timeline. Right. I'm just like, you get fed Elon Musk, whether just for being on Twitter. You don't have to follow him. You don't have to subscribe to him. If Elon posts, Twitter's going to put it up there. I'm like, okay. And yet if we post, maybe they'll show it, maybe they won't. So I want you to just recognize that for what it is. If we were doing what Candace Owens does, we wouldn't be getting shadow banned. We wouldn't be getting hidden. Okay. But by the same token, she's not a threat.
Right.
By the same token, she is not a threat. So they promote that garbage because she's not a threat. If you are a threat, you know you are, because all of a sudden you can't get shown anything. That's the bad news. Here's the good news.
Okay.
It serves as a natural filter. Now, even though I don't like being suppressed because that shouldn't be happening.
Right.
I mean, you're at war, come with the territory. But it also serves as a natural filter. The people who really want this, they follow us. They look for us. Because they finally heard something real and they're like, hey, I can't get it like this anywhere else. So it serves as a natural filter. Also, the folks who do the most squealing, once again, they're immediately recognizable. The good thing about the internet, brother, is that in the old days, these folks would have been in the damn background being quiet. You're watching MSNBC or Meet the Press, and you can't see that some of the folks sitting around you are sitting up here carrying the bull jive.
Right.
At least now we have a lot more ability to get there, willing to stick their heads up and be identified. And that's a major, major plus for us. Over time, they start backing down from what they're saying. So the only reason that they were saying about Governor Moore is because he hadn't exposed himself just yet. What they did show was how eager they are to repeat all the mistakes of the Obama administration. The same ass-kissing flunkies, they're ready to do it again. They're ready to do it all over again. That's the bad news. The good news is them saying it publicly, that doesn't really fly outside of their circles. In their circles, that flies. It doesn't fly outside of it.
Yeah.
I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, man. As always, man, great broadcast, TBA, man. Keep up your grassroots work for your people, man. I believe personally, man, you doing the work of the Lord for your people, man. And yeah, man, God bless you, man. Salute, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Look, I mean, if you were really doing so well, if we were really so ineffective, you wouldn't have to mess with our channels. You wouldn't have to shadow ban us. You wouldn't have to suppress us. If we were really on the wrong track and if we were really ineffective, you wouldn't have to do all this. You have to do all this and put your finger on the scales and sit up here and cover us up and cloak us and hide us from our own subscribers. You have to do that not because we're ineffective, but precisely because we are effective. That's the reason you have to do that. Because we are. If we wasn't putting any points on the board, if we weren't effective, if we weren't winning, if our strategies didn't work, if our message wasn't resonating, you wouldn't have to hide us. I'd be sitting here right now with 50 people watching me live. You wouldn't have to hide us. That's how I know that we're winning and effective, because you got to hide us. Let's see if we can get Ray up here on Zoom for me right quick. Let me see if we can get Ray up here. I don't see Ray. I'm going to give Ray 5 seconds. Make sure you have your camera and microphone turned on here. We're rolling tonight, so we ain't trying to slow down. Ray, let me get your camera and microphone turned on for you here. You're muted. You're invisible. I'll give you 3 more seconds, Ray, and then we got to move on. I don't know. Ray might have his Ethiopia broadband going tonight. Ray, I'll give you 2 more seconds. We have to move on. Ray, I'll give you 1 more second. We have to move on. Okay, Ray has been down there at the Starbucks. He's trying to steal the Wi-Fi. Hopefully it works out for you here, brother. Put in an application. It might help you. Go ahead and do that, man. As a matter of fact, put in an application there. Or go down to Family Dollar and just go to the jobs kiosk. See if we can get you a new router. Damn! All right, let's go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get Adrian up here on Zoom for me. All right, Adrian, what's on your mind, brother?
Hey, what's good, Jason? Shout out to you, brother.
All right, we were talking about Jewish folk tonight, so I figured you might be back. What's on your mind?
Hey, I'm back, but it's crazy. And like how we talked last time, right? You open my eyes to it, and now I see what was going on, because how you seen today, right? Out of the blue, Candace Owens wants to pivot and then start talking on black issues again out of nowhere when her conspiracy theories fail or whatever, right? And that's the thing that kind of grinds my gears, is like, it's so selective and it's so inauthentic. And that's one of the reasons why I was kind of bucking back at the notion of, okay, blacks versus Jews, or, you know, whatever the issue was, because it's like, I seen through what these people were trying to do. It's like, no, your problem is with the Jews. Not saying that we don't have a problem. We do. I'm not this or that, but their main problem and what their plight is in their mind is like with these Jewish people. And I can see them trying to use us as a buffer tool. And I'm so done with it. Like, I can't.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Folks manipulating you and people sitting up here, you know, using you for their interests. And that's just manipulation, this proxy thing. And I think the real issue is that they invited Ben Shapiro. Turning Point invited Ben Shapiro to speak and didn't invite Candace, apparently. So Turning Point has their event. They had Tucker Carlson, okay, and they brought Ben Shapiro, but they didn't bring Candace. And I think that sent her over the edge. She really carries a grudge about the fact that, you know, Turning Point, even when Charlie was there, they worked very hard to exclude her. And now they would let Tucker show up, but not her. Yeah, she's really unhappy. And now Ben Shapiro can take the stage and attack her, but they won't let her on. So, yeah, recognize when folks are trying to sit up here and gas you up to fight their wars for them. And I have no problem going to war. I do it all the time. But I'm not going to war for somebody who's never gone to war for me, or worse, has gone to war against me.
Literally. And it's so two-faced, because in the same sentence, not even like at another time, in the same sentence, they'll talk down on you and tell you what you need to be doing and what your reality is, and they don't have an ounce of respect for you as a person. It's like, I don't even talk to strangers like that. Like, it's so much ego, and that's the part that just gets me. It's like these people claim to be the most devout Christians, the most morally high standard of people, but you're so egotistical. You see yourself so high that you don't even recognize when you're talking to another human like garbage. And that's the thing. I just can't stand for that. Like, you're not going to sit here and disrespect me as a human, and then in the same literal sentence try to talk to me and tell me what I need to do. No, what I need to do is, you know what I'm saying? I know what I need to do.
Yeah, I mean, they're accustomed to that. They've been groomed to think that. So that's why I showed you all, whether it's Simone Sanders when she met Bill Clinton in high school, no Jeffrey Epstein that we know of. But they've been weaned from a young age, man. They didn't just show up like this. They got these kids in high school. They've been following them for decades, and they've told them that you're better. They let them stand with the white dudes. They gas their heads up. They give them a superiority complex. They tell them that you're so much smarter than the other Negroes, and they actually believe it. And in certain circles, they can get away with it for a while. They can actually get away with that for a minute, but eventually the wheels come off, and in Candace's case, that's where she's at right now.
Yeah, 100%. And it's unhinged. It's getting bad. Like, cause I mean, I don't even watch Candace Owens. I really do not even watch her show. And just in the last week, I've just seen the narrative spin so many different directions. At this point, you know that it's like something's going on. You know that something's not right over there.
No, look,
You know?
she caught a wave is what she's done. She found a new shtick that isn't dependent on Republicans or black people. And she is milking it for all it's worth. So, I mean, what she's doing is what Tyler Perry talked about. She's super serving her audience. Whatever it is they want to hear, she's back every day with some new, far out, outlandish spin on it, and they're gobbling it up. So, I mean, it may not be good logic, but it's certainly good business. She's super serving them by claiming that she's got some new super secret information. Well, I've got a new tip. Oh, I got a new informant, and you need to tune in tomorrow so you can get all the details. So, I mean, when you think about it, it's like a spy novel soap opera. It's episodic. And she just claims that she's got some new super secret thing, and if you don't tune in tomorrow, you won't get to hear it. This is good programming.
Honestly, it is. I mean, how far have we gotten from the truth to where literally anything, no matter how outlandish or literally like you could have the proof right in your face, and it's like people are so far away from the truth nowadays, they'll believe anything. They'll believe literally. You tell them as long as somebody with subscribers said it on the internet, they'll believe it. They'll take it. They'll go run with it. And that's the sad part. That's the part that throws me off. And I don't care really. But when it comes to black issues and issues around my community and stuff that affects me personally, it grinds my gears because I'm an adult and I didn't always have the internet. I didn't get a phone until I was like 15 years old. I remember when people like, you had a point, you said a point, it made sense or it didn't, and that was it. Nowadays, it's just crazy the amount of stuff that people say.
Do yourselves a favor, just to remind you all that the old video game Metal Gear Solid, you can look it up on YouTube when the Colonel does the speech at the end of the game. Hideo Kojima talked about it damn near 30 years ago, over 20 years ago, that you're drowning in quote unquote truth. No one is invalidated, but no one is right either. Everyone's got an opinion. They can post it. It's never fading. And it was disinformation. He was talking about disinformation and misinformation before those were even words to be used. And that's what you're describing here now. People can say the most outlandish things. And because it doesn't get taken down, even if we debunk it today, the fact that it's always accessible means that at some point in the future, there's a good chance it'll just be resurrected. There'll be a new generation of new folk who didn't hear this before, and it'll be the first time they heard it, but we're not there to shout it down when the new wave comes in, and it could breathe new life into it. So the reason why I keep banging on the Roland Martins and the Candace Owenses and whatnot is because if we don't just keep doing this consistently, people will forget, or there'll be a new generation that wasn't there to watch any of this or see any of this, and they'll forget it too. So we got to keep on it because this is the digital landscape. I'll let you have the last word.
Yeah, man, 100%. I appreciate you, Jason. And just to end off on that note, you're right, because that's one thing that really grinded my gears again. You literally tried to shift the blame effortlessly directly from the people that we know are responsible for this directly to a group of people that you personally don't like for whatever reason. I don't know, whatever reason it is. But like you just said, people want to rewrite history, and I can't let that happen on my watch. You're not going to sit there and tell me that my eyes, my family, everybody I grew up around, history, it's all just, no, you're not going to do that to me. I'm not going to stand for it. As long as I have freedom and a voice, I'm going to speak out against it, especially when people are trying to cover up Black history. It's not going to happen on my watch. I appreciate you, Jason, letting me on and speak my mind, man.
Thank you very much for giving us a call. Look, Candace Owens did not have a single problem with any of the Jewish donors, any of the Jewish backers, any Jewish person in media. Candace Owens was perfectly fine with all of them so long as they were paying her. She overlooked every white supremacist thing they said. She overlooked all the racism. As a matter of fact, she helped them and aided and abetted and collaborated with them. She was fine with everybody. She didn't have a problem with Jewish people until they fired her. Now, all of a sudden, she's on a jihad. Wasn't none of this energy back when she was benefiting. Now, all of a sudden, they're bad. So they weren't bad while they were there attacking black folk. They weren't bad then. They're only bad when they fired you. So you didn't have a problem with any of them till they did something to you. Now there's a global conspiracy. Now there's something sinister. Now we need to look into the background of it. We've been talking about the background of this stuff now for years and years, Candace, while you were denying it existed. You are the last one here. And it's all very convenient. You didn't care about it until you wanted something. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom right quick. I got Tether Warrior up here on Zoom. At least I think we do. I'll give you a few moments here to be on here. Folks must be calling me on dial-up or something here. Let me go ahead and make sure you have your camera and your microphone turned on for me. I'll give you 5 seconds. Then we're going to go ahead and move on. Make sure you have your camera and microphone turned on. I'll give you 3 seconds. Then we're going to go ahead and move on. All right, sir. What's on your mind?
Hey, how you doing?
All right, brother. You're on.
Hey, can you hear me?
You're kind of breaking up there, but go ahead.
Yeah, man. The last caller, man, just had me baffled. All of you guys had me baffled, to be honest. How you guys are pretending like the Jews are not your enemies. And it seems like you guys are just terrified of the Jews.
Okay, I don't know what you're smoking, sir, but nobody said anything like that.
Well, the last caller was saying that, Candace Owens was trying to get us to rally against the Jews. The Jews are not our enemies, but they own all your exports.
Okay, but no. Okay, first of all, sir, what you just said, nobody said that. So you're hallucinating. Stop lacing the mollies, man. Nobody said that. You're not quoting anyone because nobody said that. If you could quote him, you would quote the words. Nobody said that. That's just your delusion talking.
And he said something along the line. Well, exactly.
No, sir, it wasn't along the lines of anything. That was not said. So maybe you weren't paying attention.
Candace Owens was trying to get us to rally against the Jews.
Okay, now that was said. Everything else you said was the delusion talking, but that part was said.
Well, the Jews own all FBA exports.
Okay, sir, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and deal with something here. Who are our friends?
I think you burnt all your bridges.
Okay, sir, tell me where our non-black friends are.
You don't have any friends.
Okay, so when you say silly things like you're trying to isolate one group, none of them are our friends. None.
But there's people that are neutral that aren't exploiting you.
Okay, so there's nobody who's neutral. So if you're saying that, you're the guy who needs to go do a lot more research because you're delusional. We don't have any friends. Everyone is hostile to us. There isn't a group who is more hostile than others. They're all hostile. You can't name a single place that we can go that they don't name a single place that we go that we're not targeted.
Okay, there's a huge distinction. Okay, the American Jew owns all your exports. No one else owns your exports.
Sir, that doesn't matter. First of all, that's a lie. But second of all, even if it weren't, so what? That doesn't make them any worse. How does that make them worse than all the others?
They're your literal masters.
But sir, how does that make them worse than all the others who are oppressing us?
Okay, if they go after FBA society to exploit you and to
they all exploit us. All of them do. You're acting as if that's isolated to them. They all do.
Level of the American Jew that
okay, now it's about the level of. So now you're saying, wait a minute now. How do you measure that? Tell me the scientific method you're using to measure it.
Okay, the East Indian or the Arab exploits you at the gas station, but I'm talking about
how do you measure it?
I'm talking about on a level of hip hop. Talking about R&B. I'm talking about NBA.
Okay,
NFL.
Sir, I've already answered the question here. What you're doing is an intellectual masturbation. All these people exploit us. All these people oppress us. None of them are our friends. All of them are hostile. And if you have a fetish for one individual group, by definition, you're letting all the others off the hook. I'm saying that I'm putting all of them in the same bag. all together, and you saying no, let the others off the hook and just focus on this one group over here. And I'm not that stupid.
Sir, that doesn't make any sense. Okay, if John punches me in the mouth, I'm not gonna go after Mike with the same level of benevolence.
But they all punch. No, what you're doing is saying they all punch you in the mouth, and you're only concerned about Goldstein.
No, I'm saying only one person is punching you in the mouth. That's the Jew who owns all.
Okay, so you're just gonna let everybody else off the hook.
I'm saying there is no one on the hook.
Okay, so Daniel Pentalio is not on the hook. We're going to let him go. Geronimo Yanez, George Zimmerman, we're going to just let them go. Donald Trump, Mike Johnson, we're going to just let them go. J.D. Vance, we're just going to let Ron DeSantis, the Italian faux Hispanic, we're just going to let him go, is what you're saying.
That's exactly what I'm saying. The Italians don't own hip hop. They don't own the NBA.
He's the governor of damn me, Florida. You can choose to buy an album. First of all, white folk buy most of those things you're talking about. The biggest consumers of rap and hip hop are white. Anybody who's been to a Kanye West or Travis Scott concert has seen that. You've never been, so you don't know. But Ron DeSantis is the governor of Florida, sir. You don't think that has more relevance over your life than a rap album?
Yes. You know how much money they extracted from your community just off hip hop alone?
So you think that a rap album is more pertinent than who the governor of the state is?
Yes, the industry of hip hop is worth 1,000 times more than a freaking position.
Brother, what do you do for a living?
I work for myself.
Okay. Are you working right now?
No.
Okay, it looks like you're Ubering. What's that package in the back seat? It looks like you're Ubering. It looks like you're Ubering somebody's Chinese food to the apartments.
You wish.
Yeah, it looks like he's door dashing.
Wait, you're deflecting, sir.
Okay, sir. Well, I just gave you his math. I'm not letting anybody off the hook. We have no friends. They all go in the same bag. If you want to have an intellectual exercise because you have an axe to grind against one group and you're going to just let all these others out here doing stuff to us, you're going to let all them go. I'm not stupid like that. I'm getting all of them. No one gets off the hook. They all go in the same bag together.
Get off my phone!
You worry about all the white folk over here. Y'all heard him say, yes, we should let everybody else off the hook. Okay. So Michael Slager, Amber Geiger, Darren Wilson, Daniel Pentalio, we need to just let that's not relevant. Ron DeSantis, Greg Abbott, that's not relevant. He just told you all that's not relevant. That doesn't matter. You really need to be worried about rap albums. Okay, too many folk are in the damn fantasy world is where they at. We got too much of that going on. Way too much of that. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again right quick. We got Elijah here on Zoom. What's on your mind, Elijah?
Hey, good evening, big brother Jason. Hey, brother, before I ask my question, and I'm going to keep it brief, to that other stupid mother effer that was on the line just now, I don't think he realizes white supremacy encompasses everything. Okay, there's a such thing called I changed the governor's name from Wes Moore to Governor Wes Monkey Ass. He is part of the system of white supremacy. Yes, you can be a chocolate covered white supremacist. That's where the term black skin, white mask comes from. Okay, just because you look like us doesn't mean you're like us. All right, now going to my first question out of two, and I'm gonna land my plane with Governor Wes Monkey Ass. My question is, okay, the Maryland Assembly got together and did a good thing and decided to override his veto. But my biggest concern is, okay, they come to their conclusions, so-called, because we know it's just a study. They come to their conclusions. They put it on his desk. He can decide whether he wants to sign it or not. What do you think on that first one?
Oh, no, the past is the best indicator of the futures. This was not about that he didn't think that it was good enough. It's about he doesn't want to go on the record as supporting reparations because he is against it. That's why the Democrats support him as governor. So if you put it on his desk, he's not going to sign that. That's not what he's doing because that's not what the masters told him. And furthermore, he's not in favor of it.
There you go. So, in other words, what it sounds like you talked about 2028. I know this no good ass nigga is gonna run for re-election in 2026.
I doubt it. I mean, he may run for re-election, but I mean, he's angling for 2028. He really is, because the problem for Wes Moore is the longer he hangs out there, the more unlikely to get elected he'll be. Because if a Democrat gets elected in 2028, there goes his 2032. Okay. So he can just kiss that goodbye. So I don't think if he's going to make a move, he has to make that move right then. So the problem for him is now he's going on the record. And I guess he figured it would go easier than this or whatever. And what he's finding out is, oh, hell no. People are starting to see warts and all. So it's very, very difficult. He's not able to hide those things anymore. He was hoping this would stay below the radar, and it didn't. He thought he found a really slick way of sidestepping criticism. He did this because he doesn't want to go on the record as having supported reparations because he's scared to death that he'll be running against J.D. Vance, and J.D. Vance will be telling folk in Iowa that Wes Moore supports reparations. So that was the reason that he did that, is so he wouldn't be on the record as having voted for it or supported it. As a matter of fact, when he goes and stand in front of the white folk in Iowa, he'll be telling them that he vetoed it. So that's what he'll say when he talks to them. So we already know what the trick bag is going to be in that regard. That's what he'll say when he talks to them. He thought he found a slick way of being able to double talk with us and just say, oh, well, I support action, not studies. Okay, but I just debunked that and showed you all what he means by action. So that's what he thought he was going to do. He thought that was going to work. The legislature has really put him in the damn bind, because by them overriding his veto, now he's got to roll with it. If he doesn't, it just gets worse from here. So if he's not he's talking about he wants to work with the legislature. Dude, there ain't no working with it. You got to be the biggest cheerleader now. Every day that he doesn't become the biggest cheerleader for it, it just makes him look even worse and even more unacceptable. Period. So he's stuck between the devil and the deep white sea.
In other words, yeah, he's in a lose-lose situation for him now. His political career is seemingly over right now. Because if he signs it, no presidency for him. If he doesn't sign it, no presidency for him. All right. Or hell, he might not even get reelected, because people tend to forget his black support is on the eastern part of Maryland, not the western part of Maryland. That's all white over there near West Virginia, the Appalachian Mountains. So, yeah, he's screwed.
It's going to be tough in that regard there, because the more he's talked, when he was campaigning for office and just smiling and was an unknown, that Obama strategy worked, but now you have a track record behind you. And it's difficult, man. It's difficult. And actions like this, it was stupid because you've alienated people who didn't have to be alienated. You really didn't.
Right.
At the very least, if he was going to do that, he should have just used it to stall for time. He should have used it to stall for time. He wasn't even smart enough to do that, because the real, if he were really smart, what he would have done was go ahead and signed it, and then say that, we need to really work on fleshing out exactly what this means, and then just stall for the next 3 years.
Right.
And just be like, oh, we're really working on it. Oh, I don't like this other one because there's some other stuff we could put in here. And, if he were really smart, he would have just tied it up in bureaucracy. Vote for it, so you're on the record supporting it, and then when it's time to put stuff together, just keep rolling and just keep rolling it over in bureaucracy. And oh, we're working on this, we're talking about that, and oh, we're going to have another committee. And if he were smart, he would have done that, because the real thing about it is that this is bad optics.
Of course,
he's not losing because this was legislation. He's losing because this is symbolic. This vote doesn't do anything except, okay, we're going to go ahead and study it and start defining parameters, but you just lost a symbolic battle. The symbolism of this, the optics, what it represents, that's what you lost. Gavin Newsom lost because he became a metaphor. It became a metaphor. And in Wes Moore's case, he just gained his. And now he's going to spend the rest of his time with the black vote trying to argue and say, wait a minute, that's not what I really meant. When obviously that's exactly what you meant.
Yes, sir.
So that's the problem with what he did.
Yeah, it's over from, I don't even know.
Well, what he's counting on is that he's counting on the same calculus that Gavin Newsom is. He's counting on that Trump is going to mess up so badly here and become so unacceptable that America is going to just scramble back to Democrats again, and that the only thing he really has to do is beat Gavin Newsom. So yes, of course he stinks, but they're really just calculating that Trump is going to mess up so badly that that's what's opens the lane for them. That they don't have to be better. They don't have to be better for us. They just have to be different from Trump. They don't have to be better anymore. Only thing he has to do is not be Trump.
Right.
And that's the calculus that a lot of them are trying to use. Our job is to make sure that doesn't work.
Right. But see, here, just to add to your point, didn't you and Professor Black Truth specifically say that's a trick the Democrats are only going to be able to use once?
Well, no. I didn't say they can only use it once. But definitely it won't have the same effectiveness except under certain circumstances. I can't speak for the rest of the society. What I am saying is that it won't work on us.
Right.
It won't work on us. Now, the rest of the society, I can't speak on that necessarily because our concerns are not the same as theirs. White society is already straight, so they have nuanced issues with what Trump is doing. For us, however, you can't sell us I'm not Donald Trump. Because how did that work out for Kamala Harris?
Exactly.
So it won't work with us.
Yes,
which is why Wes Moore, now you can see why they want to try to triangulate and, don't offend the white base because you're really not going to be able to get much traction among black folk because they're not going to fall for it.
Right. Now, to the next point, then, with this girl Coconut Itch Owens, all right, and we know the word itch rhymes with something else. I'll just leave it there. Why is this woman so delusional to think that black people give a damn about anything this nasty hood rat bedwench got to say on anything?
Because she's desperate.
Yes, sir.
Because she's desperate, and I think she realizes at a certain point, this all works if Turning Point USA does not recover from the loss of Charlie Kirk. If it's all just this really ugly slide downward, then she'll be able to pull this off.
Yes, sir.
I think what she's worried about, though, is that Turning Point sees this as an existential threat, and that's why she's trying to do this takedown of Turning Point, because if they do get their legs under them, the only thing stopping them is they don't have a competent spokesperson to take Charlie's place. If they ever luck up and find that or get that would be different. Right now, they're just going into institutional fundraising mode. So it's like the Johnny Cochran law firm after he died. So it's still got the name, but it doesn't have Johnny. That's basically what Turning Point is. So it's turning into an organization like the Heritage Foundation or whatever. And she's just hoping against hope that they don't find a replacement for Charlie. Right now, that doesn't look like that's going to happen in the near future. But she's obviously concerned about the fact that Turning Point does still operate, at least they're still in the afterglow of Charlie Kirk. It still operates as a platform. And so she doesn't like the fact that they can still hold meetings and gatherings, and they still get a lot of attention, relatively speaking, and they're platforming everybody except her. And I think she's starting to try to calculate, wait a minute, are you sure this isn't having a negative effect on you, Candace? Are you sure it isn't? And I think she's starting to express this. What she's really expressing is she's starting to get nervous about that.
Yes, sir.
That they brought on Tucker, and the problem is, that certainly helps Tucker, but Tucker's not really going up there defending her. So they bring on Ben Shapiro and let him attack her, but they're not bringing her on to either defend herself or attack anybody.
Right.
So she's got her microphone and nothing else. And I think that makes her, I think that's starting to make her nervous that if they keep doing that, yeah, it hasn't taken you down today. I wonder what it'll be like in 2 years from now.
Right. Right. And look, I'm gonna land my plane with this one. All right. This is why, for many years, we always say about this American man, all right, YT man here, he's the most hypocritical on the planet and everything like that. Because 1 minute he'll be bashing the said name Jews respectfully. All right, he'll be bashing them. Next thing you know, when you have a radical coon like Coconut Itch Owens and everything like that, all right, she's far more radical for their causes than he is. Oh, well, he's still white, all right, just despite the fact he's of this religion, we'll bring him on. This is what we're talking about. We know this is why I always say this American man, he's boring. He shouldn't be listened to. Why don't you fix the problems in your damn society instead of worrying about what the hell we're doing and everything like that? Because if they want the smoke, like you said, big brother, that 5 years ago we was out there in the streets. None of them were out there and everything like that. So they're just right there talking a bunch of gibberish. All right.
Well, it's in their interest to do that for the time being because they're really trying to figure out what direction they're going to go in. Okay. This is what a listless group looks like. And I told you all that it's a scramble for the ball now, and everybody's fighting over it, and nobody wants anybody to be in charge because everybody thinks that they're the ones qualified to lead. So this is what all against all looks like. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. One more thing about that, just real briefly here. Candace has been going in on Erica. I know they had a little get together or talk, but when Candace starts talking about that Erica is half Jewish, I'm like, okay. Well, we know Candace isn't gonna let that go. You can already predict where Candace is gonna go with that if that's a true statement. If Erica Kirk is part Jewish, it's like, okay. Well, we all know how Candace is doing Jewish folk lately. We all know how Candace does Jewish folk lately. So Erica, yeah, if she hasn't come out with the long knives yet, it's coming. Oh, believe me, she is eventually going to get around to going at you too. Just for real, gloves off. Eventually, she's going to get around to you too. She's just going to wait until folk feel like it's not totally disrespectful. Oh, that's Charlie Kirk's widow. But she ain't going to let that go. Eventually, she's coming for you. Eventually, she is. Eventually, she's going to put you in the Benjamin Netanyahu bucket. She's going to put you in the Israeli genocide Benjamin Netanyahu bucket. You're going in there too with the rest of them. You're going with them. She just hasn't decided that it's the right time yet, but she's clearly signaled that it's coming. It's coming. As long as she doesn't think that she's going to mortally offend her audience, if she thinks she can get them to roll with her, oh, she's coming for you. It's coming. You're not going to get away from that. Not getting away from it. And yes, some of the other stuff there too, like I said, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole on that necessarily, but yeah, she says she didn't date anybody before Charlie Kirk, and then you find out one of the dudes at Turning Point, that's who she was dating before she got with Charlie. So you start hearing stuff like that. So it's like, wait a minute, the dude you were dating before Charlie, he's one of the executives or whatever at Turning Point now, and it's really okay. All righty then. So I mean, all right. Or is he at the Daily Wire now? I forget which one they said. Is he at Turning Point? He was at Turning Point and went to the Daily Wire, I think it is. I need I only heard it once, so I think he was at Turning Point, went to Daily Wire, or he was at Turning Point and came somewhere else. But anyway, it was one of Charlie's home. Charlie knew him at Turning Point, so then they break up. It's like, okay. All right. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just saying, okay. Okay. Yeah, I mean, that was one of the dudes that she knew before, though. No, she knew him beforehand. She knew him and he knew him beforehand. So this wasn't some stranger. This was not a stranger. It wasn't that. Look, I'm just saying that, yeah, the more you dig into it and stuff, some folks are like, it's, all right, some folks are raising the eyebrow like, oh, really? Okay. All right. If you think that's not going to have a corrosive effect, if you're telling yourself that's not going to have a corrosive effect, okay. Look for Candace to start hammering on that once she feels like it's safe enough to do it. If she starts deciding it's safe enough to do it, she's going to come for it. All right, let's go ahead and get Maurice up here on Zoom. Maurice, what's on your mind?
Thanks, Jason, for having me on. What I want to ask is I got a chance to speak with Dr. William Doherty. He was actually helping me out with a proposal for reparations, and I was trying to basically push that. I guess my greatest fear is when it comes to our people. Like I said, I definitely see the word unified as far as trying to, basically when it comes to, politicians that they're trying to get our vote, or different things too, try to basically, try to get us to basically, just basically support them so this way they can basically get paid and they can get the bag. I know that they talked about when it came to San Francisco, how they're trying to have this reparation trust fund and not putting any money. So my greatest fear is like, what could we do to rally behind each other? Because I fear that basically these politicians, they don't basically really see the struggle that we're dealing with, when it comes to basically racism and them basically actually creating institutional racism for us so that we have to go through all these different problems and issues that we do per se. So I just wanted to know, what is your advice as far as, working with each other as our, as people? I know that we basically, we'll sit on the couch, we'll not basically vote for them or anything like that too, because they're not trying to basically address our issues. And I also want to basically thank you for the other broadcast you did, because it was really real as far as when it came to you speaking about investment bankers and how a lot of times our people, when we try to get basically better high profile jobs, they just try to basically find every way not to basically look out for us and be able to basically, hire us to basically get better jobs, especially in the financial industry. So I just wanted to know, people like Dr. William Doherty, who's trying to basically do a lot for our people as far as reparations is concerned, how can we basically work together to get that type of support?
Okay, well, here's the thing about it. We got 50 states and a number of territories there. We can't be everywhere at once. What really helps is what you're seeing right now is that folk are taking the bull by the horns individually where they are. It's not just one place. You've had California, New York, Maryland, Massachusetts. So that's really what it is. Don't ask where the revolution is. If you're listening to this message, you are the revolution. You do not have to wait on me. You don't have to wait on anybody else here. You are the one who needs to take that. You get 5 folks together. On your screens right now is from Karen Hunter's program, and Davon Love there is one of the people who was, helping to get that organized there in Maryland. And they've been putting pressure on folks now. He says, at least, I can't confirm myself independently, I'll take his word for it, that they've been doing this since 2017, he feels like, because he was talking about when do you feel like the energy changed and that the Black Caucus in Maryland operates differently from the Congressional Black Caucus in Congress. And so, that's it, brother. They got together themselves. I don't know how many folk they got there, but they have enough. And we've done the same thing here. So it's really about doing that. After Robert Brooks was killed up there in New York, we showed up there for that. It wasn't thousands of us, but it was enough. Next thing you know, they start pushing for the cops to get time, and now they done gave them decades. So I'm just saying it doesn't matter where you are, get active.
Okay.
It does not matter where. You do not need my permission. You don't need any of that. Well, Jason, who do we call? All of them. Because the bottom line is they want to know how much attention is going to be put on it. So they want to know if you're watching. They want to know if you're paying attention. And you really just want to have a few of them. And you start getting that on the record, you know. The great thing about Marcel Dixon, for example, shout out to Marcel Dixon, by the way. He was saying that his case has been resolved to his liking. I haven't gotten details about it. I'm probably going to see if I can check in with him. So we get some details if he's so inclined to give that. But he did post on Twitter that case of his he feels like has been settled. So he says to his satisfaction. So I'd like to get details on that. But the great thing about Marcel Dixon was that this is a fellow who was going out here. He was just one dude by himself, but he was very well informed. Mm-hmm. And he did, you know, he was a lot better about that kind of stuff than Charlie Kirk. He made sure cameras were rolling. When he talked to politicians, he made sure the cameras were rolling so that he would be able to go upload this online and go show people. These politicians don't have a problem talking crazy as long as they think nobody's going to hear them or see them. Where it gets in trouble is when they get heard and seen. In my case, I got on the phone and played it for y'all. I got on the phone and played it for you. Folks had video. We showed them kind of things. That's the kind of thing that matters. So if folk want to have those kind of conversations and whatnot, that's something we can use. You know, you can bring that kind of stuff to us if you got them on camera, you know, and you get them on the record or whether or not they're supporting that kind of thing. Like I say, here in the new black media, that's the kind of thing we could use. But the bottom line is whether you talk to us or not, get active. The real thing is get active, because one of the tricks they try to use is, oh, where do you live at? You know, now the politicians will try that kind of garbage there as if that matters. But if you live there, that kind of thing is important. So if I can give you advice about that, get you 5 or 6 folks together, that's fine. Have cameras rolling. Make sure you're recording that thing. Your politicians have public events. Are you showing up for those? When they killed Robert Brooks, we started showing up at every public event in New York we could find. Mm-hmm. This isn't a matter of them being out there. The politicians will show up, but they make public appearances so they can try to get ready to run for office again. Where y'all at? Where y'all at? You can find them. Mm-hmm. You can find them. You can get next to them. You can get them on the record. You have to decide you're going to do that. When that kind of stuff gets recorded and that gets passed around, that starts a conversation.
Okay.
If that's the direction you're trying to go in, that starts a conversation. So go on their Twitter or whatever. Next time they have a public event or some showing like that, you be there. You just take you and another person. One of y'all needs to have a cell phone or recording both of y'all, and so that you can get that recorded. And that's just one basic thing you can do.
Well, I'm trying to basically get a legislation passed. I started basically trying to work. I started trying to work with Dr. William Doherty as far as reparation proposal, but other different like an antitrust, anti-institutional racism acts and several other different legislation policies.
You contact your Black Caucus in your state. You contact your Black Caucus, whoever's the head of it. They love giving themselves titles. Oh, good. We're going to put that title to work and ask them, where do you stand on cash reparations? Where do you stand on an anti-Black hate crime bill? Where do you stand on that? That's what you're looking for. You show up at one of their events. I'm so glad you're here. Where do you stand on a an anti-Black hate crime bill? What do you mean by that? We got one for LGBT. We got one for Asians. Where do you stand? We're the most oppressed people. Where do you stand on one specifically for us? Well, about feasibility. I'm not asking what can get passed. I'm asking, where do you stand on it? Regardless of its feasibility being passed, where in principle, I'm telling you the words to say, tell me in principle, where do you stand on it? See, that's how I got Eric the Villain Dillon up there in New York. The other politicians were at least smart enough to say that they were against it. Called Eric the Villain Dillon's office, and he said he didn't have a position. Okay, Ricky Torres, he ain't sure. But the questions, he can't say that the question wasn't asked directly. He heard that. This is about controlling the courts. In principle, where do you stand on it? I don't have a position. Oh, okay. So glad you said that. You're on the record. And they're going to test to see how far that goes. So if you want to know how you can get ammunition on your side, the ammunition is cameras rolling. Ask the questions correctly. Don't be stumbling all over yourself. You just say it exactly the way that I said it. Cameras are rolling. Now you're starting to stockpile ammunition you can use. Because those are the kind of things that potentially can go viral, especially if it's an election year. So if you want to start, you start there.
All right.
Thank you for giving us a call tonight. Like I say, you don't have to do 1,000 different things. You don't have to do 1,000 different things. Whoever is representative, okay, they go on the record. This will be your advocate for that. Find out what it is. If they're in favor of it, you want to know exactly specifically what they're going to do. If they say they support, it's like, okay, great. What do we got to do to get a bill going forward here? Oh, we got to do this. We got to have it in committee. Okay, how many we need? Who we got to lean on? And it goes from there. Let me go ahead and see if we can get Paris up here on Zoom right quick. Let me see if we can get Paris up here. And by the way, this goes for everybody, wherever you are. All right, Paris, what's on your mind?
Well, I think that we keep saying that we need to lean on the politicians, and it's not about. And as far as the Jewish situation, they got the AIPAC, and they paying these politicians. Like 80% of the politicians are getting paid by the AIPAC. Why not, as a black people, we not pool our money together to put politicians in that's for our own source, our own purpose?
I mean, you're absolutely right about that, brother. I mean, we've been saying that going on for 2 decades. So, I mean, you say, why haven't we done that? Okay, why haven't you?
Well, why are we not?
Okay, I'm asking you, why haven't you?
Well, I mean, I'm not a person that I would donate to that, but I'm not.
Okay, but here's the question now, because the first thing you did was bring up AIPAC. Here's the reason why that doesn't work. How much are you able to contribute? And then we can compare that to AIPAC.
Well, that's something that we, as black people,
right. See, here's where we get in trouble: is we ask the only question that matters, and then folks start stammering and stummering. Ooh, I ain't got it, and I'm just like, okay, well that's why AIPAC can pick and choose your politicians.
I know we need to come together as people who do have it.
They spent $20 million against Jamal Bowman.
Okay.
They spent $20 million against just one guy.
Okay.
Okay, now, how much do you think we need to raise to be able to fight that?
Well, you know, the funny thing about, in my mind, is what do money actually have to do with how somebody win the elections? Are they, I mean...
Hey, wow, really?
Yes, because you mean to tell me that people, the more you put their name out, that means the average voter is so stupid they don't realize that the person that's in office, they don't know if they doing something for them.
Okay, brother, for those of you who don't know how politics works, the key tactic in politics is repetition. You are assuming that most people are because I don't know how engaged or informed you are, but I'll just assume you are to a certain extent. You're assuming that the average voter is as informed or as engaged as you are. And that's simply not the case. Not in Congress, not for the Senate, and definitely not for the president. We know for a fact that most folk are not paying attention really until the last 60 days of a presidential election. So you go campaigning for 2 years, and in reality, you're really just leading up to people don't really get locked in until the last 2 months. Okay, but if you don't do the footwork for the previous 2 years, you will not have enough name recognition, platform, or anything else to be able to push for the last 2 months. Advertising is expensive, especially if you're trying to avoid the electorate, which most politicians are trying to do. So you end up buying billboards and television ads, but they really want to end up saturating the airwaves because they're terrified that their image will be crafted for them by somebody else, primarily their opponents. Without money, you leave yourself open to other people crafting the narrative about you. So they really have money so that they can craft the narrative on their own. But it's really about saturating the zone. You're assuming that people are tuned in. Man, they got kids, they're going to work. Folk do not just get up every day to figure out what you're doing in office. They don't. And remember, most of the electorate doesn't vote at all. And of those who do vote, you're assuming that they're locked in and engaged, and they're not. They're passive. They're casual. They're first and foremost concerned about their own personal economics, their own personal finances. They don't really get off in, most people don't get off in the minutia. And you're assuming that they do. So in a world where everybody was equally engaged, you're right. Money wouldn't matter that much, but that's not where you are. They got cell phones, they got Twitter, they got social media, they got video games. You're a politician begging for a vote. Whoever spends the most money can saturate the zone. And repetition is very, very key to that. Saying the same thing over and over and over and over again. And most folk go in the booth and just go off of what they remember last. So what you were just saying refutes that, but in reality, that's the way it works.
So basically, I was very stupid, and I do recognize that. But which brought me back to my point. While black people, instead of standing in line to buy shoes, put it towards to elect a candidate.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with that, brother. You're gonna have to make that happen. We've been talking about that for 2 decades, so you can say those words, but what are you doing to make that happen? What city are you in?
Detroit.
Okay. Do I even need to talk about Michigan? Okay, brother. So I'm just saying, I mean, everything you're saying sounds great as a platitude, but by the way, how much shoe leather and effort you putting into it?
No, I'm just saying as
okay, brother. Y'all realize every time I keep asking him the same question, he keeps trying to sidestep it. Let me try it 4th time, brother. How much action, particularly personally, are you putting into that? Now that you've articulated what needs to be done, how much effort are you putting into that?
I talk to people all the time. I mean, I don't have the resources to do so, but I talk to people all the time to be more active into I will ask somebody who was their local congressman. They don't even know.
Right.
But I try to be more vocal and try to talk to other people. But I don't have the resources to say, let's pull this money together, or let's get this money together. Let's get a person to represent us.
Right. And the issue that we have
I don't have that.
Okay. The issue that we have is that in Jewish society, you can complain about AIPAC and the ADL all you want to. The bottom line is AIPAC doesn't have $100 million out of luck. They have $100 million because they passed the hat.
Exactly.
And people don't make excuses to them for not dropping something in the hat. They don't get a bunch of excuses. They get dollars. You come over here and I ask questions about that, and next thing all we get is excuses. So if you want to know,
I mean,
$100 beats 100 excuses every day of the year.
I know you could be the excuses. You could have any church. You go to church and you'll give all your money to the church, but nobody is stepping up to say, you know what, let's put this money towards a politician.
Okay, brother. Well, that's what I'm saying. But here's my thing right here. Everybody can talk about Malcolm X all they want to. They can talk about Fred Hampton all they want to. The bottom line is, where's the next one? These are fellas here. You talk to people. Malcolm just talked to people too. Fred Hampton just talked to people too. Huey Newton just talked to people too.
But they had those people who said they had a background of people that was putting. They had an organization.
It didn't start as an organization, sir. Nothing starts as an organization. It starts as one person.
Exactly.
Okay, and by the time the Panthers were done, they started a free lunch program.
Hmm.
What's stopping you from doing that?
Me personally? Oh, I mean, shit. I'm just saying I got ideas, but I'm just saying that I don't have the resources, basically.
Okay, the Panthers didn't have it either until they did.
So you're trying to say I should start a whole organization?
I'm saying that action talks, everything else got 4 feet.
You as a person, Jason Black, has an organization or have a follower and the leaders that you should start that.
And there's the issue right there. There's a grown man from Detroit done called me up to talk about what he wants another grown man to lead for the benefit of Detroit.
Exactly. the fact that you haven't done it, maybe you didn't think about it. So I'm trying to say,
okay, sir, I've been here forever. I've been to Detroit many times there, but the real thing is, if you, okay, sir, you'll be quiet because you've already failed. A grown man with gray hairs in his beard begging another grown man to do his work for him.
Go ahead, sir.
How is it that, brother, you should be ashamed to be calling another grown man asking for answers for Detroit, and you live there?
I'm not asking for Detroit. I don't have. You the one that said this,
brother. If you live in Detroit, you shouldn't be asking somebody else about how to galvanize your city.
Mr. Black, you telling us that we should go follow politicians and record them and tell them to do and hold them accountable.
I'm not telling you to do I'm not telling you to do anything.
No, you said this.
Okay, I'm not telling you to do anything. All I'm saying to you right now is, by the way, couldn't help but notice a grown man with all kinds of gray hairs in his beard out here, y'all, and he doesn't have any answers, but he's got plenty to say about AIPAC.
No, I'm listening to you and saying that.
Okay, well, here's what I need.
My personal life.
We need to have a whole lot less talking and a whole lot more doing.
No, you said that we should hold politicians accountable.
Okay, here's what you need to do. You need to go find 5 black folk who feel the same way you do.
Oh no, I'm just saying I'm listening to you.
Okay, let me try. We're gonna try this for the last time. What you, Paris, need to do is you need to go get 5 black folk who you think feel the same way as you do. And if the 5 of you cannot organize and put your pennies together to make something happen, then you're not worth saving.
Oh, no, I'm not looking to be saved.
Okay, well, in that case, then don't worry about it. Let me explain something to y'all here. It's the 21st century. Niggas sitting up here calling up and talking about what AIPAC is doing. And then when you tell him, hey, it's time to get active, dude, we're not here to indulge you on some pitching and moaning session. A grown man talking about, I live in Detroit. I wish Jason Black would do something for me.
Nigga, what?
This dude up here on the phone was older than me. Y'all didn't see him. He's older than me. It's a grown-ass man sitting up here on my phone talking about what we really need is for Jason Black to do something. AIPAC isn't calling anybody else and talking about what they need to come do for them. He's getting on my phone all the way from Detroit talking about what I need to do for Detroit, and he's sitting right there. You don't need me to come out there and make yet another documentary film or another get-together about Grosse Pointe and the socioeconomic inequities. I already did that a decade ago. Niggas in Detroit got to make them moves. Y'all got to move around. You're making excuses up about AIPAC. Dude, if you can't get 5 people together, then they need to run your city.
And deal with it, nigga.
Let me just say that right now. Hey, black folk, if you can't get 5 black people together to be laser focused in your city for your benefit, then them other people need to run your city. And that's real talk, dude. I mean, that's just natural selection. If you are not invested in saving yourself, improving your condition, if you can't get 5 of y'all together to get active, then them other folk need to run it. And I mean that. If these other people will get organized, if these other people ain't gonna trick off their damn money at the turn up, if these other people, if it is that important to them, if you got a black city, but the only folk willing to invest in it are the non-black people, then they need to run your city. For real, for real. You need to stop complaining. If you don't think it's worth you getting up and moving on it, Them folk need to run it. But just be aware that when they run it, they're not going to run it for your benefit. They're going to run it for their own, and that's what you're going to be complaining about. You want other people to run your city, but you want them to run it for your benefit. And you can't even get 5 of you together? That's an organism that doesn't need to survive. If there's 100,000 of you, but you don't have 5 of you who feel like you need to get together for your own benefit, no, them other folk need to run it. Them other people need to run that thing. If nobody ever said it to you just like that, I did. And I meant that. I meant that. They need to run it. Decade after decade. I mean, what? Let me explain something to you. Getting 5 people together don't cost you nothing. That's not a financial issue. There's not a financial barrier to you organizing with 5 other people. That's not a financial issue. That's a social one. If you can't get 5 of you together, that's not because you didn't have enough money. Y'all ain't got enough guts. You don't have enough guts. You don't have enough principles. You don't have enough scruples. It's not because you don't have enough money. That's not a financial issue. If the 5 of you cannot agree that you need to organize for your own survival, then maybe you don't need to survive. Maybe you don't. But this idea that you're going to sit in Detroit, no, these white folk need to do something. Where's Jason Black at? He need to do something. You don't know how to talk to the people in your own damn city. You can't galvanize. You are from the soil of that city and you can't galvanize your own people? How the hell are you going to be from a place and you can't galvanize the people in it? That doesn't make no sense. But, well, Jason, maybe you can do it. So let me get this straight. Detroit is waiting for an outsider to come galvanize them. That's what they're waiting on. You think that's what Detroit is waiting on? Jason, Detroit really wants you to show up in it. Okay. Let me go ahead and jump back over here on Zoom again. Let me see if we can get Huey up here on Zoom for me right quick. All right, Huey, what's on your mind?
Hey, brother. Thanks for the broadcast. I just want to just touch on the point about the whole Jasmine Crockett with that interview. I'm trying to put this in nice words. They know exactly what we mean. The fact that she's trying to say that we can only approve, we're only going to approve on what we can approve on. It's like, there are like other policies that you pushed that got approved that didn't benefit nobody. Like Democrats, they can push for men going into a public women's restroom, but you're having problems with approving of like reparations.
Jasmine Crockett has approved for trans people in your bathroom. She's approved for LGBT. She's approved for damn me non-citizens, for illegal aliens. She's pushing for abortion. None of them bills have gone anywhere. None of them have gone. I can go down the list with y'all tonight. She's got all kinds of those things sponsored, and not a one of them has gone anywhere. So she has no problem pushing a bill that can't pass. She's got plenty of them on her resume. It's only when we talk about reparations, all of a sudden she doesn't want to do it. Oh, I don't think that'll pass. Nothing you're doing is passing, Jasmine. How is that? How would this be any different? Just throw this one on the pile. But she's objecting to throwing this one on the pile. Okay, I see what you're on.
Yeah. And second of all, for Mr. Wes Moore, well, for him vetoing the the study for reparations, for me it's like I kind of figure that he was going to be on that, and also you just saved a lot of black voters time for not going out and vote for you. So he basically saved all the black people, brothers in Baltimore sometimes to not reelect him or vote for him or support any of his agenda. So he did a good job there. Yeah, other than that, like, I don't know how their election's gonna end up, but only thing I know is that for us as a Freeman, we're just gonna continue to withhold our votes until they actually say what they're gonna do. You can't copy our words anymore, because now we're gonna start asking you backbone questions on what you mean for clarification.
Well, I mean, but that's what we didn't do before. The game that they played is that they make these vague statements that are meant to be open to interpretation, and they know you're going to interpret it a certain way. And you're supposed to just assume that they mean it the way you do. And that's the game they've been playing. So you assume that, and then they don't do it, and then it's, oh, well, I didn't really say we was going to do that. And the problem is that by not forcing them to run on these things, it leaves them available to do the bait and switch. What we're doing is saying, no. If you get, you're going to have to go on the record. And so when you go talk to white votes or LGBT or whatever, they're going to know what they're voting for. But we're not going to play this game where we support you and hope for the best, because you're not doing that with anybody else. We're going to make you declare what you stand on before you can get our vote. That's new. That's new. Back in the civil rights days, the situation was so dire that you didn't have to worry about folk being off code like that. But we got a whole bunch of suspect people around here. You got a whole bunch of tethers and tether identifying people. And right now we got to do more due diligence, because this is not accidental. They do that deliberately. You start assuming that they mean something, and they know that they're lying, or they know they're misleading you. They know they're doing that on purpose. Now we're just forcing them to put it on the record, but to clarify beforehand, hey, what exactly do you mean by that? And that's where they're getting tripped up at. They never thought that we would demand clarity, because they didn't demand clarity of John Conyers, Elijah Cummings, John Lewis. Didn't demand clarity from them. So this is new to this new crop. This is new. They're getting follow-up questions and demanding that you clarify exactly what you mean. Oh, this wasn't happening before. So it's a new day.
Correct.
I'll let you have the last word.
And one thing, though, is that how she talks about Donald Trump giving, like, I think January 6th reparation or doing something for those type of people. At least he's doing something for his people. If I had a black Donald Trump that's running for office, and he says the same stuff that Donald Trump said, but for black folks, you realize that he already be the next president or close to it.
I mean, what do you mean?
Well, like Donald Trump, like, for example, he with his code words, like he says something that white audience get. If I had the inverse of Donald Trump, or he says something that black folks get, where it's something where it's like, okay, hey, this guy, he's saying something that we can all get on board with.
Yeah, I mean, look, you would have that. Look, Charlemagne just got a $200 million contract. And like him or not, and I've had plenty of my criticisms about him, I mean, when he doesn't want to mince words with white folk, he doesn't. The issue that you have is these black politicians are not doing this because they're just inept. They're doing this because they were chosen by the party specifically to execute in this manner. That's the thing we need to understand. They're not just stupid or incompetent or inept. That's not what's going on. They're handling these issues. They want to get raised up in the party. They want to get raised up in the party. They want to get promoted by the party. They want national party support. So they got to move a certain way so that they can have that. It would be different if Donald Trump wanted to be president, and once you become president, you really can't do anything after that. Okay, but Wes Moore wants to be more than governor. So you see, he can't just think like a one-term governor, because that's not what he really wants. If you were governor, you'd probably be like, you know what, I got one term, I'm going to let it rip. Well, that's not the way that Wes is thinking. Yeah, that's the difference between you and him. You like, hey, I ain't even thinking about no re-election. I'm going to get everything I can done in this first 4 years like my life depends on it. Yeah, but that's not the way they're thinking. That's not them. So when you realize that, oh boy, they're on something different. And that's why they were chosen. They were selected. And the party has raised them up because they're known figures. So if you want to break that, if you want to do a Donald Trump, just remember you're going to be an outsider. By definition. And remember that Donald Trump's first foray into office was the top job. It wasn't like he had to work his way up. He went straight at the top. So that's not what you're talking about. Or if it were, it'd have to be under different circumstances. So yeah, he can do that. And he's just been running like he's only got one life to live. And remember, he got voted out in 2020. So it wasn't like it was all smooth sailing.
Bro.
His reward for 2016 was to get voted out of office. So just keep that in mind. Thank you very much for giving us a call tonight. Let me see if we can get Monica up here on Zoom for me. Let me see if we can get Monica up here on Zoom for me here. There you go. All right, Monica, what's on your mind?
Hi, Jason. How are you?
All right. She's all in bed. She's under the sheets. She's looking all sultry. Oh, I don't know if this is going to go right or left. We'll see.
Yeah. Yeah, I just wanted to...
Well, her Zimbabwe broadband must have a delay on it.
Yeah, Jason, I just want to stop by and show my support. And, you know, and it's like, I just wanted to let you know that. Yeah.
She sure does. Thank you very much for giving the call tonight, man. We'll see if we can get her Ethiopia broadband and get up to speed next time there. I appreciate you calling. Yeah, man, they got their camisoles on. They got the lights low. The candles are going. They say, let me call up J-Bay. What? Damn! It's all good. It's all good. I'm an old hand at this, It's all good. Well, folks, like I say, your politicians out there, they're dodging reparations like Neo in the Matrix was dodging bullets. That's what they're doing. So just keep that in mind. They're trying for the trick bag all over the damn place. They think they're being slick. Our job is to let them know we see you. We see you. And I think in 2026 and 2028, there's going to be a whole bunch of folk out there got another thing coming when they realize, damn, they're not letting this go. See, folks, they thought that this was just a temporary dust up for 2016 and 2020. They figured that by now, this would no longer be an issue. I need you all to understand that. The politicians didn't think that reparations would still be something we'd be talking about 4 years later. 8 years later, a decade later. That wasn't what they were thinking. They thought that at this point we would have been like the civil rights generation and just said, oh hell, they ain't gonna give us nothing. We might as well see if we can get a scholarship. We were not supposed to be talking about this a decade later. And certainly not supposed to be bringing this up at every single political opportunity. That wasn't what they thought was going to happen. They thought that we would have gotten this out of our system and that they would have been able to move on. That's not going to occur. They are now having to settle with the reality that this is the new normal. We're never going to let this go, and this is the new normal. Now, just like Donald Trump and his America First people, we are the reparations people. And that's going to be the permanent political status. Every time you come to us, now you're going to have an answer about that reparations thing. That wasn't supposed to occur. It was supposed to be something else. And what they're showing you is that Their strategy now is deceit and misleading. Say the word reparations, but then tell them reparations is a scholarship. And so what it means is that it's going to take a few folk being made examples of. It's like, no, we're paying attention. We heard you try to dance around it, and yeah, you're stuck. So a few folk had to be made examples of, and just understand, you will know that they really take this seriously when they become proactive about that. People, they all know where we at. They all know where we're at. All of them, they know. It's not accidental. They know. If they want to get in touch with us and chop it up about that, they could have been done that. They didn't do it, not because they're ignorant, because they don't want to. They don't want to. But this is not going away. We're not waiting for them to find religion. It's not going away. This is the new normal. And I got a feeling it's going to be a whole bunch of folk who are going to repeat the crash and burn of Kamala Harris. Whole bunch of folk going to end up going out like Kamala Harris before it's over. They don't want to believe it, but I got a feeling it's going down. I got a feeling it's going down. We're going to go ahead and wrap things up here tonight. I want to thank everyone who has contributed to tonight's program on PayPal, Super Chat, Venmo. Shout out here to Dionysus. Thank you very much for your support tonight. For those of you who are biracial, as long as you're on code, that's what it matters most. Third Eye Open, thank you very much for your support. To Mark B, to Alyssa Bay, Logic Before Emotion, Rhonda. Ain't seen Rhonda in a minute there, by the way. Welcome, Glennis, and everybody else here who's contributed to tonight's program. Thank you very much. We appreciate that. If you are new here to the Black Channel, welcome to the Haven of Intelligent Black Thought. We do this every weekend, holidays, some days in between. And if we have earned your subscription, if you like what you've heard tonight and you want to keep up with it, hopefully we have earned your subscription and hit that subscribe button. And if we haven't, come back tomorrow night. I plan on talking about the Epstein files, but come back tomorrow night here. We'll see if we can take another chance to earn your subscription then. And click that yellow notification bell on the app. Make sure that you stay up to date when we're on. We do get shadow banned, but it sometimes helps. I want to thank all of you, and all of you for tuning in tonight's program live or recorded. Thank you all for liking, subscribing, and sharing. And this concludes tonight's broadcast of the Black Channel. I am your host, your brother, your humble servant, the Black Authority. And until next time, my brothers and my sisters from around the world, remember, black is the future, and the future is uncompromising.